That's the thing I've been working on. Anyway, I figured I'd do one more of these before I hit the road here. I already have my shit all downloaded. I'll probably be putting out all those spaces I did last year over time when I feel like it, I guess. But I've just really gotten. I took like a week or two off of being on Twitter. I just like deleted it, and I realized there's like three people that I actually am interested in like maintaining a correspondence with. Ultimately, like people who actually, I feel like I can talk to about anything on a level that is meaningful to me, and is not just like a practice of patience and splitting hairs. And those would be like like Stilicho. So I'm still gonna be working on the Fairy Queen stuff with him. I'll still be putting stuff out, and I'll still be writing pretty much every day. I'm trying to work more on my novel. I want to have that out this year. So I'm probably just going to be focused more on that with some more like long form stuff instead of writing in lieu of writing threads. My wife is currently working on having my archive in a stable form, which will be available on my website. So all of this writing isn't going to go away. It's just that I no longer am interested in allowing everyone to read what I write. I'm just not interested in having an open society. I want to live in a closed society with strict borders, and I don't want to just invite these demons into my fucking life anymore. I think it's pretty reasonable. I think I should have done this maybe a year ago. I really was on this vibe a year ago. For 2022, I was like, "This is it. I'm done. I want to be out of here." And I got roped back on in. I got roped back on in because it felt to me like there was something more viable or something with more liveliness to it happening around like Haas and people who were kind of getting jaded from the Bernie times two or whatever the fuck and Trump losing. It seemed like it was like necessary to articulate some position that would reconcile these things, which we tried to do with MAGA communism, etc. But I'm kind of sick of being on like FBI watch lists and shit like that, being considered a domestic terrorist for talking about this sort of shit in an open forum. I think it's just more beneficial to me to just remain in a closed society. I want to keep my circle tighter. I don't know. There's not really much that's of value that's being given to me here. It's mostly a waste of my time. I spend so much time just like blocking people who are just like engaging with my shit in a way that that's like their goal is just to annoy me. And it's just really annoying. Like it's successful. It's not that hard to be annoying. You know what I mean? Like people take so much pride in their ability to annoy others, but it's actually the most trivially easy thing to do in the world. Like anyone can be annoying. You can make anyone annoyed at you. Like trying people's patience is really like what these people pride themselves on, and they will do it infinitely. They have no interest whatsoever in engaging in like the type of production that I'm interested in doing. It's just what it is here, man. It's just what it is. Like people are just trying each other's patience on here, and they think it's fun and entertaining. I don't know. I find it more pathetic. Anyway, I was going to do this one more space here. I wanted to read some things first. So I was going to start here with Poor Man's Pudding and Rich Man's Crumbs by Herman Melville, which I reread recently and I was vibing with because it connects pretty directly. You'll see here too the book of the Fairy Queen that we'll be discussing next. And also, I read all of Herman Melville's letters and I learned a lot about Melville that I didn't know from his letters. For instance, his first things he ever written in a published form, I believe it was when he was in university and he was writing under the pseudonym Philologian, like as in a philologist, in defense of this philosophical society they had founded at his university. So it's cool stuff like that. He shook hands with Abraham Lincoln. I've never heard anyone mention the fact that Herman Melville literally shook hands with Abraham Lincoln. Um, I thought that was cool. And yeah, his letters to Hawthorne are brutal. I totally understand where he's coming from because they're coming from the time when he's writing like Moby Dick. His career was all fucked, and he's like, "This is like America is disgusting," and the whole literary marketplace is a nightmare. And really, like Moby Dick is about the American transcendentalism. In that sense, it's about the like Ahab is kind of like um, the notion of like the artist here, right? Like he's gonna go kill God, like he's gonna go tame nature in this like narrative that he's like bringing everyone along with, and it just leads to everyone's self-destruction. That's basically like the tale of America, is that we're being enchanted by the Ahab, the narratives of these Ahabs. Ahab, of course, being the corrupt biblical king, who's sort of also like a prototype model of what the Antichrist is meant to be, in the same way that Solomon, and being a corrupted king, kind of replicates the same sins as Ahab, etc. So all of that, of course, makes sense to me. And, that's schizobabble to the people that I'm trying to avoid. So here we go. Poor man's pudding. You see, said poet Blandamore enthusiastically, as some 40 years ago we walked along the road in soft, moist snowfall toward the end of March. You see, my friend, that the blessed almoner nature is in all things beneficent, and not only so, but considerate in her charities, as any discreet human philanthropist might be. This snow, now, which seems so unseasonable, is in fact just what a poor husbandman needs. Rightly is this soft March snow falling just before seed time. Rightly it is called poor man's manure. Distilling from kind heaven upon the soil by a gentle penetration, it nourishes every clod, ridge, and furrow. To the poor farmer, it is as good as the rich farmer's farmyard enrichments, and the poor man has no trouble to spread it, while the rich man has to spread his. Perhaps so, said I, without equal enthusiasm, brushing some of the damp flakes from my chest. Maybe as you say, dear Blandamore, but tell me, how is it that the wind drives yonder drifts of poor man's manure off poor Coulter's 2-acre patch here and piles it up yonder on which rich squire Teamster's 20-acre field? Ah, to be sure, yes, well, Coulter's field, I suppose, is sufficiently moist without further moistenings. Enough is as good as a feast. Yes, replied I, of this sort of damp fare, shaking another shower of the damp flakes from my person. But tell me, this warm spring snow may answer very well, as you say, but how is it with the cold snows of the long, long winters here? Why, do you not remember the word of the psalmist? The Lord giveth snow like wool, meaning not only that snow is white as wool, but warm too as wool. For the only reason, as I take it, that wool is comfortable is because air is entangled and therefore warmed among its fibers. Just so, then, take the temperature of a December field when covered with this snow fleece, and you will no doubt find it several degrees above that of the air. So you see, the winter snow itself is beneficent, under the pretense of Frost, a sort of gruff philanthropist, actually warming the earth, which afterward is to be fertilizingly moistened by the gentle flakes of March. I like to hear you talk, dear Blandamore, and guided by your benevolent heart, can only wish to pour Coulter plenty of this poor man's manure. But that is not at all. That is not all, said Blandmore eagerly. Did you never hear of the poor man's eye water? Never. Take this soft March snow, melt it, and bottle it. It keeps pure as alcohol, the very best thing in the world for weak eyes. I've a whole demijohn of it myself, but the poorest man afflicted in his eyes can freely help himself to this same all bountiful remedy. Now, what a kind of provision is that? Then poor man's manure is poor man's eye water, too. Exactly. And what could be more economically contrived? One thing answering two ends, ends so very distinct. Very distinct indeed. Ah, that is your way, making sport of earnest. But never mind, we have been talking of snow, but common rainwater, such as falls all the year round, is still more kindly, not to speak of its known fertilizing quality as to fields. Consider it in one of its minor lights. Pray, did you ever hear of a poor man's egg? Never. What is that now? Why, in making some culinary preparations of meal and flour where eggs are recommended in the receipt book, a substitute for the eggs may be had in a cup of cold rainwater, which acts as leaven. And so a cup of cold rainwater, thus used, is called by housewives a poor man's egg. And many rich men's housekeepers sometimes use it too. But only when they're out of hen's eggs, I presume, dear Blandemore. But your talk is, I sincerely say it, most agreeable to me. Talk on. Then there's poor man's plaster for wounds and other bodily harms, an alleviative and curative, compounded of simple, natural things, and so, being very cheap, is accessible to the poorest sufferers. Rich men often use poor man's plaster, but not without the judicious advice of a feed physician, dear Blandemore. Doubtless, they first consult the physician, but that may be an unnecessary precaution. Perhaps so. I do not gainsay it, but go on. Well, then, did you ever eat of a poor man's pudding? I've never so much as heard of it before. Indeed, well, now you shall eat of one, and you shall eat too, as made unprompted by a poor man's wife, and you shall eat it at a poor man's table and in a poor man's house. Come now. And if after this eating you do not say that a poor man's pudding is as relishable as a rich man's, I will give up the point altogether, which briefly is that through kind nature, the poor, out of their very poverty, extract comfort. Not to narrate any more of our conversations upon this subject, for we had several, I being at the time the guest of Blandemore in the country for the benefit of my health, suffice it that acting upon Blandemore's hint, I introduced myself into Coulter's house on a wet Monday noon, for the snow had thawed, under the innocent pretense of craving a pedestrian's rest and refreshment for an hour or two. I was greeted not without much embarrassment, owing, I suppose, to my dress, but still with unaffected and honest kindness. Dame Coulter was just leaving the washtub to get ready her 1 o'clock meal against her good man's return from a deep wood about a mile distant among the hills where he was chopping by day's work, 75 cents per day, and found himself. The washing being done outside the main building, under an infirm looking old shed, the dame stood upon a half rotten soaked board to protect her feet, as well as might be, from the penetrating damp of the bare ground. Hence she looked pale and chill, and her paleness had still another and more secret cause, the paleness of a mother to be, a quiet, fathomless heart trouble, too, couched beneath the mild, resigned blue of her soft and wife-like eyes. But she smiled upon me as apologizing for the unavoidable disorder of a Monday and a washing day, and conducting me into the kitchen, set me down in the best seat it had, an old-fashioned chair of an enfeebled constitution. I thanked her, and sat rubbing my hands before the ineffectual low fire, and unobservedly as I could, glancing now and then about the room, while the good woman, throwing on more sticks, said she was sorry the room was no warmer. Something more she said, too, not repiningly, however, of the fuel, as old and damp, picked up sticks in Squire Teamster's forest, where her husband was chopping the sappy logs of the living tree for the squire's fires. It needed not her remark, whatever it was, to convince me of the inferior quality of the sticks, some being quite mossy and toadstooled, with long, lying bedded among the accumulated dead leaves of many autumns. They made a sad hissing and a vain sputtering enough. You must rest here till dinner time at least, said the dame. What I have you are heartily welcome to. I thanked her again and begged her not to heed my presence in the least, but go on with her usual affairs. I was struck by the aspect of the room. The house was old and continually damp, constitutionally damp even. The window sills had beads of exuded dampness upon them. The shriveled sashes shook in their frames, and the green panes of glass were clouded with the long thaw. On some little errand, the dame passed into an adjoining chamber, leaving the door partly open. The floor of that room was carpetless, as the kitchen's was. Nothing but bare necessities were about me, and those not of the best sort. Not a print on the wall, but an old volume of Dodderidge lay on the smoked chimney shelf. You must have walked a long way, sir. Your sigh so with weariness. No, I am not nigh so weary as yourself, I dare say. Oh, but I am accustomed to that. You are not, I should think. And her soft, sad blue eye ran over my dress. But I must sweep these shavings away. Husband made him a new axe helve this morning before sunrise, and I've been so busy washing that I had no time to clear up. But now that there are just the thing I want for the fire, they'd be much better, though, were they not so green. Now, if Blandemore were here, thought I to myself, he would call those green shavings poor man's matches or poor man's tinder or some pleasant name of that sort. I do not know, said the good woman, turning round to me again as she stirred among her pots on the smoky fire. I do not know how you will like our pudding. It is only rice, milk, and salt boiled together. Ah, what they call a poor man's pudding, I suppose you mean. A quick flush, half resentful, passed over her face. We do not call it so, sir, she said, and was silent. Upbraiding myself for my inadvertence, I could not again but think to myself what Blandemore would have said had he heard those words and seen that flush. At last a slow, heavy footfall was heard, then a scraping at the door, and another voice said, "Come, wife, come, come. I must be again in a jiff. If you say I must take all my meals at home, you must be speedy, because the squire—" "Good day, sir," he exclaimed, now first catching sight of me as he entered the room. He turned toward his wife inquiringly and stood stock still while the moisture oozed from his patched boots to the floor. "This gentleman stops here a while to rest and refresh. He will take dinner with us, too. All be ready now in a trice. So sit down on the bench, husband, and be patient, I pray. You see, sir," she continued, turning to me, "William there wants of mornings to carry a cold meal into the woods with him to save the long 1 o'clock walk across the fields to and fro. But I won't let him. A warm dinner is more than pay for the long walk." "I don't know about that," said William, shaking his head. "I've often debated in my mind whether it really paid. There's not much odds either way between a wet walk after hard work and a wet dinner before it. But I like to oblige a good wife like Martha. You know, sir, that women will have their whimsies." "I wish they all had as kind whimsies as your wife has," said I. "Well, I've heard that some women ain't all maple sugar, but content with dear Martha, I don't know much about others." "You find rare wisdom in the woods," mused I. "Now, husband, if you ain't too tired, just lend a hand to draw the table out." "Nay," said I, "let him rest and let me help." "No," said William, rising. "Sit still," said his wife to me. The table set, in due time, we all found ourselves with plates before us. "You see what we have," said Coulter. "Salt pork, rye bread, and pudding. Let me help you. I got this pork of the squire, some of his last year's pork, which he let me have on account it isn't quite as sweet as this year's would be, but I find it hearty enough to work on, and that's all I eat for. Only let the rheumatize and other sicknesses keep clear of me, and I ask no flavors or favors from any. But you don't eat of the pork." "I see," said the wife gently and gravely, "that the gentleman knows the difference between this year's and last year's pork, but perhaps you will like the pudding." I summoned up all my self control and smilingly assented to the proposition of the pudding, without by my looks casting any reflections upon the pork. But to tell the truth, it was quite impossible for me, not being ravenous, but only a little hungry at the time, to eat of the latter. It had a yellowish crust all round it and was rather rankish, I thought, to the taste. I observed, too, that the dame did not eat of it, though she suffered some to be put on her plate and pretended to be busy with it when Coulter looked that way. But she ate of the rye bread, and so did I. "Now then, for the pudding," said Coulter. "Quick, wife. The squire sits in his sitting room window, looking far out across the fields. His timepiece is true." "He don't play the spy on you, does he?" said I. "Oh, no, I don't say that. He's a good enough man. He gives me work, but he's particular. Wife, help the gentleman. You see, if I lose the squire's work, what will become of—" And with a look for which I honored humanity with sly significance, he glanced towards his wife, then, a little changing in his voice, instantly continued, "That fine horse I'm going to buy." "I guess," said the dame with a strange, subdued sort of inefficient pleasantry, "I guess that fine horse you sometimes so merrily dream of will long stay in the squire's stall, but sometimes his man gives me a Sunday ride." "A Sunday ride," said I. "You see," resumed Coulter, "wife loves to go to church, but the nigh's just 4 miles off over yon snowy hills, so she can't walk it, and I can't carry her in my arms, though I've carried her upstairs before now. But, as she says, the squire's man sometimes gives her a lift on the road, and for this cause it is that I speak of a horse I am going to have one of these fine sunny days, and already, before having it, I have christened it Martha. But what am I about? Come, come, wife, the pudding. Help the gentleman do the squire. The squire, think of the squire, and help round the pudding. There, 1, 2, 3 mouthfuls must do me. Goodbye, wife. Goodbye, sir. I am off." And snatching his soaked hat, the noble poor man hurriedly went out into the soak and the mire. I suppose now, thinks I to myself, that Blandemore would poetically say, "He goes to take a poor man's saunter." "You have a fine husband," said I to the woman, as we were now left all together. "William loves me this day as on the wedding day, sir. Some hasty words, but never a harsh one. I wish I were better and stronger for his sake, but, oh, sir, both for his sake and mine." And the soft blue, beautiful eyes turned into two well springs. "How I wish little William and Martha lived. It is so lonely, like now, William named after him and Martha for me. When a companion's heart of itself overflows, the best one can do is to do nothing." I sat looking down on my ass, yet untasted pudding. You should have seen little William, sir. He's such a bright, manly boy, only 6 years old. Cold, cold now. Plunging my spoon into the pudding, I forced some into my mouth to stop it. And little Martha, oh, sir, she was the beauty, bitter, bitter, but needs must be born. The mouthful of pudding now touched my palate and touched it with a moldy, briny taste. The rice, I knew, was of that damaged sort sold cheap, and the salt from last year's pork barrel. Ah, sir, if those little ones yet to enter the world were the same little ones which so sadly have left it, returning friends, not strangers, strangers, always strangers, yet does a mother soon learn to love them? For certain, sir, they come from where the others have gone. Don't you believe that, sir? Yes, I know all good people must, but still, and I fear it is wicked and very black-hearted too. Still, strive how I may to cheer me with thinking of little William and Martha in heaven, with reading Dr. Doddridge there. Still does dark grief leak in, just like the rain through our roof. I am left so lonesome now, day after day, all the day long. Dear William is gone, and all the damp day long grief drizzles and drizzles down on my soul. But I pray to God to forgive me for this, and for the rest, manage it as well as I may. Bitter and moldy is the poor man's pudding, groaned I to myself, half choked with but one little mouthful of it, which would hardly go down. I could stay no longer to hear of sorrows for which the sincerest sympathies could give no adequate relief, of a fond persuasion to which there could be furnished no further proof than already was had, a persuasion, too, of that sort which much speaking is sure more or less to mar, of causeless self upbraidings, which no expostulations could have dispelled. I offered no pay for hospitalities gratuitous and honorable as those of a prince. I knew that such offerings would have been more than declined, charity resented. The Native American poor never lose their delicacy or pride. Hence, though unreduced to the physical degradation of the European pauper, they yet suffer more in mind than the poor of any other people in the world. Those peculiar social sensibilities, nourished by our peculiar political principles, while they enhance the true dignity of a prosperous American, do but minister to the added wretchedness of the unfortunate. First, by prohibiting their acceptance of what little random relief charity may offer, and second, by furnishing them with the keenest appreciation of the smarting distinction between their ideal of universal equality and their grindstone experience of the practical misery and infamy of poverty. A misery and infamy which is, ever has been, and ever will be precisely the same in India, England, and America. Under pretense that my journey called me forthwith, I bade the good dame goodbye, shook her cold hand, looked my last unto her blue, resigned eye, and went out into the wet. But cheerless as it was, and damp, damp, the heavy atmosphere charged with all sorts of incipiencies, I yet became conscious by the suddenness of the contrast that the house air I had quitted was laden down with that peculiar deleterious quality, the height of which, insufferable to some visitants, we found in a poorhouse ward. This ill ventilation in winter of the rooms of the poor, a thing too so stubbornly persisted in, is usually charged upon them as their disgraceful neglect of the most simple means to health. But the instinct of the poor is wiser than we think. The air which ventilates likewise cools, and to any shiverer, ill ventilated warmth is better than well ventilated cold. Of all the preposterous assumptions of humanity over humanity, nothing exceeds most of the criticisms made on the habits of the poor by the well housed, well warmed, and well fed. Blandemore, said I that evening, as after tea I sat on his comfortable sofa before a blazing fire with one of his two ruddy little children on my knee, you are not what may rightly be called a rich man. You have a fair competence, no more. Is it not so? Well, then, I do not include you when I say that if ever a rich man speaks prosperously to me of a poor man, I shall set it down as, I won't mention the word, rich man's crumbs. Oh, man, that one gets me. This is Rich Man's Crumbs now. It's a companion piece. In the year 1814, during the summer following my first taste of the poor man's pudding, a sea voyage was recommended to me by my physician.
The Battle of Waterloo having closed the long drama of Napoleon's wars, many strangers were visiting Europe. I arrived in London at the time the victorious princes were there assembled, enjoying the Arabian Nights hospitalities of a grateful and gorgeous aristocracy and the courtliest of gentlemen and kings, George, the Prince Regent. I declined all letters but one to my banker. I wandered about for the best reception an adventurous traveler can have, the reception, I mean, which unsolicited chance and accident throw in his venturous way. But I omit all else to recount 1 hour's hap under the lead of a very friendly man, whose acquaintance I made in the open street of Cheapside. He wore a uniform and was some sort of civic subordinate. I forget exactly what. He was off duty that day. His discourse was chiefly of the noble charities of London. He took me to two or three and made admiring mentions of many more. But, said he, as we turned into Cheapside again, if you're at all curious about such things, let me take you, if it be not too late, to one of the most interesting of all our Lord Mayor's charities, sir. Nay, the charity is not only of a Lord Mayor, but I may truly say in this one instance of emperors, regents, and kings. You remember the event of yesterday? That sad fire on the riverside, you mean, unhousing so many of the poor? No, the grand Guildhall banquet to the princes. Who can forget it? Sir, the dinner was served on nothing but solid silver and gold, worth at least $200,000. That is 1 million of your dollars. While the mere expenditure of meats, wines, attendance, and upholstery cannot be footed under $25,000. $120,000 of your hard cash. But surely, my friends, you do not call that charity, feeding kings at that rate. No, the feast came first yesterday and the charity after today. How else would you have it where princes are concerned? But I think we shall be quite in time. Come, here we are at the King Street, and down there is Guildhall. Will you go? Gladly, my good friend, take me where you will. I come but to roam and see. Avoiding the main entrance of the hall, which was barred, he took me through some private way. We found ourselves in a rear blind walled place in the open air. I looked round amazed. The spot was grimy as a backyard in the Five Points. It was packed with a mass of lean, famished, ferocious creatures struggling and fighting for some mysterious precedency, and all holding soiled blue tickets in their hands. There is no other way, said my guide. We can only get in with the crowd. Will you try it? I hope you have not on your drawing room suit. What do you say? It will be well worth your sight. So noble a charity does not often offer. The one following the annual banquet of Lord Mayor's Day. Fine a charity as that certainly is not to be mentioned with what will be seen today, is it, eh? As he spoke, a basement door in the distance was thrown open, and the squalid mass made a rush for the dark vault beyond. I nodded to my guide, and sideways we joined in with the rest. Ere long, we found our retreat cut off by the yelping crowd behind, and I could not but congratulate myself on having a civic as well as a civil guide, one, too, whose uniform made evident his authority. It was just the same as if I were pressed by a mob of cannibals on some pagan beach. The beings round me roared with famine, for in this mighty London misery but maddens. In the country it softens. As I gazed on the meager, murderous pack, I thought of the blue eye of the gentle wife of poor Coulter, some sort of curved, glittering steel thing, not a sword, I know not what it was, being worn in his belt, was now flourished overhead by my guide, menacing the creatures to forbear offering the stranger violence. As we drove, slow and wedge-like, into the gloomy vault, the howls of the mass reverberated. I seemed seething in the pit with the lost. On and on through the dark and damp, and then up a stone stairway to a wide portal, when, diffusing, the pestiferous mob poured in bright day between painted walls and beneath a painted dome. I thought of the anarchic sack of Versailles. A few moments more, and I stood bewildered among the beggars in the famous Guildhall. Where I stood, where the thronged rabble stood, less than 12 hours before sat His Imperial Majesty Alexander of Russia, His Royal Majesty Frederick William, King of Prussia, His Royal Highness George, Prince Regent of England, His world-renowned Grace, the Duke of Wellington, with a mob of magnificos made of conquering field marshals, earls, counts, and innumerable other nobles of mark. The walls swept to and fro like the foliage of a forest with blazonings of conquerors' flags. Not outside the hall was visible. No windows were within 24 feet of the floor. Cut off from all other sight, I was hemmed in by one splendid spectacle. Splendid, I mean, everywhere. But as the eye fell toward the floor, that was foul as the hovels, as the kennels, the naked boards being strewed with the smaller and more wasteful fragments of the feast, while the two long parallel lines up and down the hall of now unrobed, shabby, dirty pine tables were piled with less trampled wrecks. The dyed banners were in keeping with the last night's kings. The floor suited the beggars of today. The banners looked upon the floor as from his balcony, Dives upon Lazarus, a line of liveried men kept back with their staves the impatient jam of the mob, who otherwise might have instantaneously converted the charity into a pillage. Another body of gowned and gilded officials distributed the broken meats, the cold victuals, and crumbs of kings. One after another, the beggars held up their dirty blue tickets and were served with a plundered wreck of a pheasant or the rim of a pasty, like the detached crown of an old hat, the solids and meats stolen out. What a noble charity, whispered my guide. See that pasty now, snatched by that pale girl. I dare say the Emperor of Russia ate of that last night. Very probably, murmured I. It looks as though some omnivorous emperor or other had a finger in that pie. And see yon pheasant, too, there, that one. The boy in the torn shirt has it now. Look, the Prince Regent might have dined off that. The two breasts were gouged ruthlessly, exposing the bare bones, embellished with the untouched pinions and legs. Yes, who knows, said my guide. His Royal Highness, the Prince Regent, might have eaten of that identical pheasant. I don't doubt it, murmured I. He's said to be uncommonly fond of the breast. But where's Napoleon's head in a charger? I should fancy that ought to have been the principal dish. You are merry, sir. Even Cossacks are charitable here in Guildhall. Look, the famous Platov, the hetman himself. He was here last night with the rest. No doubt he thrust a lance into yon pork pie there. Look, the old shirtless man has it now, how he licks his chops over it, little thinking of or thanking the good kind Cossack that left it him. Ah, another, a stouter has grabbed it. It falls. Bless my soul, the dish is quite empty, only a bit of the hacked crust. The Cossacks, my friend, are said to be immoderately fond of fat, observed I. The hetman was hardly so charitable as you thought. A noble charity upon the whole, for all that. See, even Gog and Magog yonder, at the other end of the hall, fairly laugh out their delight at the scene. But don't you think, though, hinted I, that the sculptor, whoever he was, carved the laugh too much into a grin, a sort of sardonical grin? Well, that's as you take it, sir. But see, now I'd wager a guinea the Lord Mayor's lady dipped her golden spoon into yonder golden-hued jelly. See, the jelly-eyed old body has slipped it in one broad gulp down his throat. Peace to that jelly, breathed I. What a generous, noble, magnanimous charity this is, unheard of in any country but England, which feeds her very beggars with golden-hued jellies. But not 3 times every day, my friend. And do you really think that jellies are the best sort of relief you can furnish to beggars? We're not plain beef and bread with something to do and be paid for be better. But plain beef and bread we're not eating here. Emperors and prince regents and kings and field marshals don't often dine on plain beef and bread, so the leavings are according. Tell me, can you expect that the crumbs of kings can be like the crumbs of squirrels? You, stand aside or else be served in a way. Here, take this pasty and be thankful that you tasted the same dish with her Grace the Duchess of Devonshire. Graceless ragamuffin, do you hear? These words were bellowed at me through the din by a red-gowned official nigh the board. Surely he does not mean me, said I to my guide. He that confounded me with the rest. One is known by the company he keeps, smiled the guide. See, not only stands your hat awry and bunged on your head, but your coat is fouled and torn. Nay, he cried to the red grown. This is an unfortunate friend, a simple spectator, I assure you. Ah, is that so, you, old lad? Responded the red gown, in familiar recognition of my guide, a personal friend, as it seemed. Well, convey your friend out forthwith. Mind the grand crash. It will soon be coming. Hark now, away with him. Too late. The last dish had been seized. The yet unglutted mob raised a fierce yell which wafted the banners like a strong gust and filled the air with a reek as from sewers. They surged against the tables, broke through all barriers, then billowed over the hall, their bare tossed arms like the dashed ribs of a wreck. It seemed to me as if a sudden, impotent, fury of fell envy possessed them, that 1/2 hour's peep at the mere remnants of the glories of the banquets of kings, the unsatisfying mouthfuls of disemboweled pasties, plundered pheasants, and half-sucked jellies, served to remind them of the intrinsic contempt of the alms. In this sudden mood, or whatever mysterious thing it was that now seized them, these Lazaruses seemed ready to spew up in repentant scorn the contumelious crumbs of dives. This way, stick like a bee to my back, intensely whispered my guide. My friend there has answered my beck and thrown open yon private door for us two. Wedge, wedge, in quick. There goes your bunged hat. Never stop for your coattail. Hit that man. Strike him down. Hold. Jam. Now. Wrench along for your life. Ha! Huh, here we breathe freely. Thank God. You faint. Huh. Never mind. This fresh air revives me. I inhaled a few more breaths of it and felt ready to proceed. And now conduct me, my good friend, by some front passage into Cheapside. Forthwith, I must home. Not by the sidewalk, though. Look at your dress. I must get a hack for you. Yes, I suppose so, said I, ruefully eyeing my tatters and then glancing at envy at the close buttoned coat and flat cap of my guide, which defied all tumblings and tearings. There now, sir, said the honest fellow, as he put me into the hack and tucked in me and my rags. When you get back to your own country, you can say you have witnessed the greatest of all England's noble charities. Of course, you will make reasonable allowances for the unavoidable jam. Goodbye, mine, Jehu, addressing the driver on the box. This is a gentleman you carry. He is just from the Guildhall charity, which accounts for his appearance. Go on now. London Tavern, Fleet Street, remember, is the place. Now heaven in its mercy save me from the noble charities of London, sighed I, as the night I lay bruised and battered on my bed. And heaven save me equally from the poor man's puddings and the rich man's crumbs. Well, what is it for you? What does it for me is Herman Melville noting the statue of Gog and Magog in the Guildhall of the City of London Corporation. That, don't you think that the sculptor carved the laugh too much into a grin, a sort of sardonical grin? That's what does it for me. This is one I don't know if I read it on this before, but I've been meaning to read this one on a space at some point, but it's I think one of the most important parts of Gravity's Rainbow. It's a short little tale, a lot shorter than that, and I figured I'd read it to you right now. But this is the tale of Byron the Bulb, which is really a sort of parable about American art, being an artist in America, being a poet in America in under this dispensation. It's also about the Phoebus cartel, which is a legitimately Thomas Pynchon busted the Phoebus cartel on tungsten light bulb price fixing and planned obsolescence. Long before it was admitted by like industrial magazines themselves, and studied by economists that this light bulb cartel actually existed. This was, of course, a phantasmagorical conspiracy theory when he published this story. But now we recognize it as history. So here it is. It's the story of Byron the Bulb. Byron was to have been manufactured by Tungsram in Budapest, who'd probably been grabbed up by the ace salesman Gezer Razas Volgi's father, Sander, who covered all the Transylvanian territory and had begun to go native enough to where the Home Office felt vaguely paranoid about him throwing some horrible spell on the whole operation if they didn't give him what he wanted. Actually, he was a salesman who wanted his son to be a doctor, and that came true. But it may have been the bad witch leery auras around Budapest that got the birth of Byron reassigned at the last minute to Osram in Berlin. Reassigned, yes. There's a bulb baby heaven, amiably satirized as if it was the movies or something. Well, big business. Haha. But don't let them fool you. This is a bureaucracy first, and a bulb baby heaven only as a sort of sideline. All overhead, yes. Out of its own pocket, the company is springing for square leagues of organdy, hogsheads of IG Farben pink and blue baby dye, 100 weights of clever Siemens electric baby bulb pacifiers, giving the suckling bulb the shape of a 110-volt current without the least trickle of power. One way or another, these bulb folks are in the business of providing the appearance of power, power against the night, without the reality. Actually, BBH is rather shabby. The brown rafters drip cobwebs. Now and then a roach shows up on the floor, and all the babies try to roll over to look. Being bulbs, they seem perfectly symmetrical, Skippy, but don't forget the contact at the top of the thread going, ah, God, glowing feebly at the bewildering roach sitting paralyzed and squashable out on the bare boards, rushing, reliving the terror of some sudden blast of current out of nowhere and high overhead, the lambent, all-seeing bulb. In their innocence, the baby bulbs don't know what to make of this roach's abreaction. They feel his fright, but don't know what it is. They just want to be his friend. He's interesting and has good moves. Everybody's excited except for Byron, who considers the other bulb babies a bunch of saps. There's a constant struggle to turn their thoughts on anything meaningful. Hi there, babies. I'm Byron the Bulb, here to sing you a little song to you that goes, light up and shine, you incandescent bulb babies. Looks like you got rabies. Just lying there foaming and a screaming like a bunch of little demons. I'm delivering unto you a kingdom of roaches, and nothing approaches that joyful feeling when you're up on the ceiling looking down night and day on the kingdom you survey. They'll come out and love you till the break of dawn, but they run like hell when the lights come on. So shine on, baby bulbs, you're the wave of the future, and I'm here to recruit you in my great crusade. Just sing along, babies, come on and join the big parade. Trouble with Byron's, he's an old soul trapped inside the glass prison of a baby bulb. He hates this place, lying on his back waiting to get manufactured. Nothing to listen to on the speakers but Charleston music now and then, an address to the nation. What kind of setup's that? Byron wants to get out of here and into it. Needless to say, he's been developing all kinds of nervous ailments. Baby bulb diaper rash, which is a sort of corrosion on the screw threads. Baby bulb colic, a tight spasm of high resistance someplace among the deep loops of tungsten wire. Bulb baby hyperventilation, where it actually feels like his vacuum has been broken through. There's no organic basis. When M Day finally does roll around, you can bet Byron's elated. He's past the time hatching some really insane, grandiose plans. He's going to organize all the bulbs, see? Get him a power base in Berlin. He's already hep to the strobing tactic, and all you do is develop the knack, yogic almost, of shutting off and on at a rate close to the human brain's alpha rhythm. You can actually trigger an epileptic fit. True, Byron has had a vision against the rafters of the ward of 20 million bulbs all over Europe at a given synchronized pulsing arranged by one of his many agents in the grid. All these bulbs beginning to strobe together. Humans thrashing around the 20 million rooms like fish on the beaches of perfect energy. Attention, humans, this has been a warning to you. Next time, a few of us will explode. Ha! Well, unleash our kamikaze squads. You've heard of the Kyrgyz Light? Well, that's the ass end of a firefly compared to what's we're gonna. Oh, you haven't heard of the. Oh, well, too bad. Because a few bulbs, say a million, a mere 5% of our number, are more than willing to flame out in one grand burst instead of patiently waiting out their design hours. So Byron dreams of his guerrilla strike force. Gonna get Herbert Hoover, Stanley Baldwin, all of them right in the face with one coordinated blast. Is Byron in for a rude awakening? There's already an organization, a human one, known as Phoebus, the International Light Bulb Cartel, headquartered in Switzerland, run pretty much by International GE, Osram, and Associated Electrical Industries of Britain, which are in turn owned 100%, 29%, and 46%, respectively, by the General Electric Company in America. Phoebus fixes the prices and determines the operational lives of all the bulbs in the world, from Brazil to Japan to Holland. Although Phillips and Holland is the mad dog of the cartel, apt at any time to cut loose and sow disaster through the great combination. Given this state of general repression, there seems no place for a newborn baby bulb to start but at the bottom. But Phoebus doesn't know yet that Byron is immortal. He starts out his career at an all-girl opium den in Charlottenburg, almost within sight of the statue of Werner Siemens, burning up in a sconce, one amongst many bulbs witnessing the more languorous forms of Republican decadence. He gets to know all the bulbs in the place, Benito the bulb over in this next sconce, who's already planning an escape, Bernie down the hall in the toilet, who has all kinds of urania jokes to tell. His mother, Brenda, in the kitchen, who talks of his sheesh hush puppies, dildos rigged to pump floods of paragoric orgasm to the capillaries of the womb, prayers to Astarte and Lilith, queen of the night, reaches into the true night of the other, cold and naked on the linoleum floors, after days without sleeping, the dreams and terrors become a natural state. One by one, over the months, the other bulbs burn out and are gone. The first few of these hit Byron hard. He's still a new arrival, still hasn't accepted his immortality. But on through the burning hours, he starts to learn about the transience of others, learns that loving them while they're here becomes easier and also more intense. To love as if each design hour will be the last. Byron soon enough becomes a permanent old timer. Others can recognize his immortality on sight, but it's never discussed except in a general way when folklore comes flickering in from other parts of the grid, tales of the immortals, one in a Kabbalist study in Lyons who's supposed to know magic, another in Norway outside a warehouse facing Arctic whiteness with a stoicism more southerly bulbs begin strobing faintly just at the thought of. If other immortals are out there, they remain silent, but it is silence with much, perhaps everything, in it. After love, then, Byron's next lesson is silence. As this burning lengthens toward 600 hours, the monitors in Switzerland begin to keep more of an eye on Byron. The Phoebus surveillance room is located under a little known Alp, a chilly room crammed full of German electro hardware, glass, brass, ebonite, and silver, massive terminals blocked shaggy with copper clips and screws, and a cadre of super clean, white robed watchers who wander meter to meter, light as snow devils, making sure that nothing's going wrong, that through no bulb shall the mean operating life be extended. You can imagine what it would do to the market if that started happening. Byron passes surveillance's red line at 600 hours, and immediately, as a matter of routine, he is checked out for filament resistance, burning temperature, vacuum, power consumption. Everything's normal. Now Byron is to be checked out every 50 hours hereafter. A soft chime will go off in the monitoring station whenever it's time. At 800 hours, another routine precaution, a Berlin agent is sent out to the opium den to transfer Byron. She is wearing asbestos-lined kid gloves and 7-inch spike heels. No, not so she can fit in with the crowd, but so that she can reach that sconce to unscrew Byron. The other bulbs watch in barely subdued terror. The word goes out along the grid at something close to the speed of light. Every bulb, Azos looking down the empty black bakelite streets, Nitra lamping and wanton G's at night, soccer matches, just Wolframs, Monowatts, and Siriuses. Every bulb in Europe knows what's happened. They are silent with impotence, with surrender in the face of struggles they thought were all myth. We can't help. This common thought humming through pastures of sleeping sheep down autobahns into the bitter ends of coal and piers in the north. There's never been anything we could do. Anyone shows us the meanest hope of transcending, and the Committee on Incandescent Anomalies comes in and takes him away. Some do protest, maybe, here and there, but it's only information, glow modulated, harmless, nothing close to the explosions in the faces of the powerful that Byron once envisioned, back there in his baby ward, in his innocence. He is taken to New Colne and to a basement room. The home of a glassblower is afraid of the night, and who will keep Byron glowing and on watch over all the flint bowls, the griffins and flower ships, ibexes in mid-leap, green spiderwebs, somber ice deities. This is one of many so-called control points where suspicious bulbs can be monitored easily. In less than a fortnight, a gong sounds along the ice and stone corridors of the Phoebus headquarters, and faces swivel over briefly from their meters. Not too many gongs around here. Gongs are special. Byron has passed 1,000 hours, and the procedure now is standard. The Committee on Incandescent Anomalies sends a hitman to Berlin. But here's something odd happens. Yes, damned odd. The plan is to smash up Byron and send them right there in the shop to cull it in batch, salvage the tungsten, of course, and let him be reincarnated in the glassblower's next project, a balloon sitting out on journey from the top of a white skyscraper. This wouldn't be too bad a deal for Byron. He knows as well as Phoebus does how many hours he has on him. Here in the shop, he's watched enough glass being melted down into the structureless pool from which all glass forms spring and respring, and wouldn't mind going through it himself. But he's trapped on the karmic wheel. The glowing orange batch is a taunt, a cruelty. There's no escape for Byron. He's doomed to an infinite regress of sockets and bulb snatchers. And Zip's young Hansel Guschwindig, a Weimar street urchin, twirls Byron out of the ceiling and into a careful pocket and geschwing out the door again. Darkness invades the dreams of the glassblower. Of all the unpleasantries, his dreams grab in out of the night, and extinguished light is the worst. Light in his dreams was always hope, the basic mortal hope. As the contracts break helically away, hope turns to darkness, and the glassblower wakes sharply tonight, crying, "Who? Who?" Phoebus isn't exactly thrown into a frenzy. It's happened before. There's still a procedure to follow. It means more overtime for some employees, so there's that vague, full boweled pleasure at the windfall, along with an equally vague excitement at the break in routine. You want high emotion? Forget Phoebus. Their stone faced search parties move into the streets. They have more or less where in the city to look. They're assuming that no one among their consumers knows of Byron's immortality, so the data for now immortal bulb snatchings ought to apply also to Byron. And the data happen to hump up in poor sections, Jewish sections, drug, homosexual, prostitute, and magic sections of the capital. Here are the most logical bulb snatchers in terms of what the crime is. Look at all that propaganda. It's a moral crime. Phoebus discovered, one of the great undiscovered discoveries of our time, that consumers need to feel a sense of sin, that guilt in proper invisible hands is the most powerful weapon. In America, Lyle Bland and his psychologists had figures, expert testimony, and money in the Puritan sense, an outward and visible okay on their intentions, enough to tip the discovery of guilt at the cusp between scientific theory and fact. Growth rates in later years were to hear Bland out. Actually, what bore Bland out was an honorary pallbearer sextet of all the senior members of Saltieri, Poor, Nash, DeBrutus, and Short, plus Lyle Jr., who was sneezing. Buddy, at the last minute, decided to go see Dracula. He was better off. Of all the legacies Bland left around, the bulb snatching heresy was perhaps his grandest. It doesn't just mean that somebody isn't buying a bulb, it also means that that same somebody is not putting any power in the socket. It is a sin both against Phoebus and against the grid. Neither one is about to let that get out of hand. So out go to the Phoebus flatfoots looking for the snatched Byron, but the urchin has already left town, gone to Hamburg, traded Byron to a Reaper Bond prostitutes so he can shoot up some morphine. The young woman's customer tonight is a cost accountant who likes to have light bulbs screwed into his asshole. And this John has also brought a little hashish to smoke. So by the time he leaves, he's forgotten about Byron still there in his asshole. Doesn't ever, in fact, find out because when he finally gets around to sitting down, having stood up in trolleys all the way home, it's on his own home toilet and plop. There goes Byron in the water and flush away down the waistlines to the Elbe estuary. He is just round enough to get through smoothly all the way. For days he floats over the North Sea till he reaches Helgoland, that red and white Napoleon pastry tipped in the sea. He stays there for a while at a hotel between the Hengst and the Manche, till being brought back one day to the mainland by a very old priest, he's been put hep to Byron's immortality in the course of a routine dream about the taste of a certain 1911 Hockheimer. Suddenly, here's the great Berlin ice palace, the booming, dim iron trust cavern, the smell of women in the blue shadows, perfumes, leathers, fur skating costumes, ice dust in the air, flashing legs, jutting haunches, desires in grip like fashion, flashes, helplessness at the end of a crack the whip, rocketing through beams of sunlight choked with the powdered ice, and a voice in the blurred mirror underfoot saying, "Find the one who has performed the miracle. He's a saint. Expose him. Expedite his canonization." The name is on a list that old man presently draws up of about 1,000 tourists who've been in and out of Helgoland since Byron was found on the beach. The priest begins a search by train, footpath, and Hispano Suiza, checking each of the tourists on his list, but gets no farther than Nuremberg, where his valise, with Byron wrapped inside in an alb, is ripped off by a transectite, a Lutheran named Mausmacher, who likes to dress up in Roman regalia. This Mausmacher, not content with standing in front of his own mirror making papal crosses, thinks it will be a really bizarre kick to go out to the Zeppelin field to a Nazi torchlight rally in full drag, walking around blessing people at random. Green torches flaring, red swastikas, twinkling brasses, and Father Mausmacher checking out tits and asses, waistlines and baskets, humming a clerical little tune, some Bach riff, smiling as he moves through the Sieg Heils and choruses of Die von Herr Hoch. Unknown to him, Byron slides out of the stolen investments onto the ground. He is then walked past by several 100,000 boots and shoes, and not one so much as brushes him, Natch. He scavenged next day, the field now death empty, columned, pale, streaked with long mud puddles, morning clouds, lengthening behind the gilded swastika and wreath, by a poor Jewish rag picker, and taken on into anybody another 15 years of preservation against chance and against Phoebus. He will be screwed into another mutter after mother, as the female threads of German light bulb sockets are known, for some reason that escapes everybody. The cartel have already gone over to contingency plan B, which assumes a 7-year statute of limitations, after which Byron will be considered legally burnt out. Meanwhile, the personnel taken off of Byron's case are busy tracking a long-lived bulb that once occupied a socket on the porch of an army outpost in the Amazon jungle. Beatrice the bulb, who was just stolen mysteriously by an Indian raiding party. Through his years of survival, all these various rescuers of Byron happen as if by accident. Whenever he can, he tries to instruct any bulbs nearby in the evil nature of Phoebus and the need for solidarity against the cartel. He's come to see how Bulb must move beyond its role as conveyor of light energy alone. Phoebus has restricted Bulb to this one identity, but there are other frequencies above and below the visible band. Bulb can give heat. Bulb can provide energy for plants to grow, illegal plants inside closets, for example. Bulb can penetrate the sleeping eye and operate among the dreams of men. Some bulbs listened attentively, others thought of ways to think to Phoebus. Some of the older anti Byronists were able to fool with their parameters in systematic ways that would show up on the ebonite meters under the Swiss mountain. There are even a few self immolations hoping to draw the hitmen down. Any talk of Bulb's transcendence, of course, was clear subversion. Phoebus based everything on bulb efficiency, the ratio of the usable power coming out to the power put in. The grid demanded that this ratio stay as small as possible, the way they got to sell more juice. On the other hand, low efficiency meant longer burning hours, and that cut into bulb sales for Phoebus. In the beginning, Phoebus tried increasing filament resistance, reducing the hours of life on the slime gradually, till the grid noticed the fall off in revenues and started screaming. The two parties by and by reached an accord on a composite bulb life figure that would bring in enough money for both of them, and to go 50-50 on the cost of on the anti-bulb snatching campaign, along with a more subtle attack against those criminal souls who forswear bulbs entirely and use candles. Phoebus's long-standing arrangement with the meat cartel was to restrict the amount of tallow in circulation, but keeping more fat and meat to be sold regardless of cardiac problems that might arise, and redirecting most of what was trimmed off into soap production. Soap in those days was a booming concern. Among the consumers, the Bland Institute discovered deep feelings about shit. Even at that, meat and soap were minor interlocks at Phoebus. More important were items like tungsten. Another reason why Phoebus couldn't cut down bulb life too far. Too many tungsten filaments would eat into available stockpiles of the metal, China being the major world source. This also brought in a very delicate question of Eastern policy and disturbed the arrangement between General Electric and Krupp about how many tungsten carbide would be produced, where and when, and what the prices would be. The guidestone settled on was 37 to 90 a pound in Germany, 200 to 400 a pound in the US. This directly governed the production of machine tools and thus all areas of light and heavy industry. When the war came, some people thought it unpatriotic of GE to have given Germany an edge like that, but nobody with any power. Don't worry. Byron, as he burns on, sees more and more of this pattern. He learns how to make contact with other kinds of electric appliances in homes and factories out in the streets. Each has something to tell him. This pattern gathers in his soul. Seek, as the core of the early carbon filament was known in Germany. And the grander and clearer it grows, the more desperate Byron gets. Someday, he will know everything and still be as impotent as before. His youthful dreams of organizing all the bulbs in the world seem impossible now. The grid is wide open. All messages can be overheard, and there are more than enough traders out on the line. Profits traditionally don't last long. They're either killed outright or given an accident serious enough to make them stop and think. And most often they do pull back. But on Byron has been visited an even better fate. He is condemned to go on forever, knowing the truth and powerless to change anything. No longer will he seek to get off the wheel. His anger and frustration will grow without limit, and he will find himself, poor perverse bulb, enjoying it. What does it for you there? I would note here the emphasis on the infrared, but that might be a little too timely, wouldn't it? A little too prophetic almost, eh? A little too sense making of things. What it's really about is about Pynchon himself. It's about Pynchon. It's about Richard Farina. It's about Bob Dylan. It's about all those guys in the '60s. It's being cast over like America is being presented here as the continuity of the world wars of Europe or the entirety of America. It's all one polity now. We see this quite evidently when you have Lithuanian or fucking Danish or whatever people writing in English on Twitter and like NATO squad battalions and like standing Marvel characters talking about China and Russia, etc. What is this big thing, this big cartel, right? And here it is, right? You can gather up your information on it. You can prove it all you like. You can be aware of this all you like. But what do you do about it? Do you just sit here perversely enjoying the accumulation of the knowledge of this, like Byron the Bulb? Is that all you can do at the end of the day? Just sit here and like this is what true crime is, right? This love. I watched a Bernie Madoff documentary, right? That entertained me last night. I watched the 3-part Bernie Madoff documentary. Is that all I can do? Is that like we can't organize everyone. Where we're on the grid right now, all of this is being overheard. My messages are being overheard. Everyone can hear here. How many people are listening in? You know, who's checking in? I'm on a watch list. I know that already. I live this. I live this story. This is my life. It's not cryptic to me because I experience it. I feel it. I used to enjoy this, like Byron the Bulb. I used to enjoy this. Just seeing learning and understanding the functioning of the cartel, the cartel. I didn't understand it. I came to an understanding of it, and there is a perverse pleasure, even to knowing how things work and seeing how everyone can't see what's right in front of them, and that is where the temptation really comes to join up. Right? If nothing is going to change about it anyway, and you're acquiring this skill set, which is basically only valuable to the people who continue the cartel. Like I got job offers from the cartel. I could have a job doing this for the cartel. I could be working at a think tank doing private intelligence agency shit. I had the opportunity to do that. They are paying attention. They're paying attention better. They're better readers. Why do you want to find the most educated Marxists in America? The CIA. Okay. This is where our talent goes. If you can see the treadle on the loom spinning here, that's not of use to the people who are suffering. That doesn't help them. It's not going to do shit for them. Them knowing it either way isn't going to do shit for them. What is to be done? No one knows. No one has an answer. I don't have an answer for you. All I know is that I don't enjoy it anymore. All right, Mage, I'll let you on, bud. Yeah, man. That's
The
like
the Melville story definitely got me.
yeah, man. I mean, it's funny to me because like I read these things like silently, like when I read them first, and then when I read them out loud, it's hard sometimes to get through without like tearing up. I swear to God, like I had to stop because it's like I don't know, it feels different when you're performing it. I guess like it takes you over. Like I can't help it.
No, no, I agree. I mean, I read a lot of shit out loud just to myself, and I feel the same way. But like, I mean, oh no, when you read Endicott and the Red Cross, it definitely hit different because I had read it the day before, and it was getting me a little bit, but it got me much more when you read it out loud.
Yeah, I mean, reading it out loud is like what it's supposed to be. Like that's the other thing is all of this like written literature is meant to be performed like in speech. Like it's meant to be read. Like people had books and they would read to each other as entertainment. Like 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 silent reading is great. Like I do a lot of silent reading on my own, but the act of reading to another, I think, is like the more fundamental element here. Like that's how you learn to read. Like I'm looking forward to reading stories to my daughter. I mean, I've been reading to her in the womb because they can hear you.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, man. That's amazing.
And that just feels more meaningful to me. I don't know, than like being on here and being like, was I right again? Oh, I was right again. I was right again. Oh, and like no one could see it, and I can't fucking change people's minds about it anyway. Like I'm just tired of it. It's more satisfying to me at this point to just like fucking do this stuff. Like I want to just write now. I honestly do. I'm tired of tracking this stuff. I'm tired of it. Like I already get it. I don't. It's not adding anything more. But like
No,
reading the
I'm
story
glad.
to my kids feels a lot more important to me.
No, I mean I'm glad. I'm glad you're going, man. Like you've been saying it for a long time, and I'm glad it's actually happening now. Because it'll be better for you, and it'll be
No,
better
it's
for
really a
me too. Because
selfish
I'll
thing.
bend.
It's really extreme. Well, it's selfish for me in the sense that I have provided basic, really way too much of myself. I've given way too much of myself away on this for nothing, really for nothing. Like
Hmm.
I've taken like I I feel like I've answered more like fan mail or whatever, like in DMs or in replies, etc., than maybe anyone else. Like I swear to God, like I try at least to reply to like everything because it does matter to me, but it's too much for me now. Like I can't do it anymore. I have
Well, I
to
mean, especially with like
stop.
real shit coming on the, with especially with real shit on the horizon. It's like it's gonna be way worse when they're being demons towards your kin.
Well,
I
it's
mean, they
also
already
just
are.
it's sort of like what I wanted, what I ultimately wanted was a type of recognition. And I've gotten that from enough people, right? I know like other people tell me that like I've helped them to understand things better and that it's been beneficial to them. But what I want is like that's not enough, you know? What I want
Yeah.
is for everyone to fucking get it. But I can't, I'm not going to get that. You know what I mean? I want it to like you can't write something like and this is the dream. Like, you know, you want to write something that's like everyone will immediately see all that it's like good in it and all that it means and like everything you put into it, but that's impossible, and it's been impossible forever. It's like all of the great literature, like Herman Melville put that out. That was actually published, those two pieces in like a newspaper at the time. I think he actually put it out on anonymously too, but he got paid for it. That's how you know
Wow.
it's his. But yeah, I mean, he did a lot of stuff like that. So like I'm just more interested in I want to write more things that stand for themselves, and I don't want to have to defend them anymore. I don't want like I'm not interested in defending my
In
positions.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. It's like, I mean, even Dante is still misunderstood. I mean, we get fucking, like, the amount of times I'll talk to people and they'll just be like, yeah, but he was just like a sad boy over Beatrice. And it's just like, you're a fucking retard. Like,
Yeah, people
I
don't
don't know.
appreciate like the kind of heroism in literature. I think like that like Dante was excommunicated. He lost everything that he had, and he lived on like the charity of others. Like he lived in other people's houses. He was like in
Yeah.
exile his entire life. Like he suffered, you know. Like you can't write without suffering, and I've genuinely suffered for being on Twitter. Like I don't care what how dumb that sounds, how stupid and trivial and dumb that sounds, and how mockable that is. How
Oh, somebody
easily
was
mockable
mean
that
to you
is.
on Twitter. Oh, no.
But it's real. It's real.
No,
Like
I
it's
know.
literally bad. Like it's not good for me. It's not good for me. Like and I like you know I say anything and I just see everyone being like, oh, great redemption arc. Logos did like I don't want to give them this feeling that they've won, but they're gonna get it anyway.
I mean, they're going to feel like they've won regardless. I mean, no matter what you do, really.
It's just insufferable. I don't know. I mean, Haas is back, so he can take all the heat now. I'm done. I when he was gone, I feel like I was absorbing it all, but I'm done.
Yeah, no, I mean it's. I think it's good to be done. It's. I mean, it's really fruitless. I've been feeling that lately, and I don't even do the same shit that you're doing. Really, it's just like it's just such a waste of time. You go on here, and then it's just I don't know. There's nothing you can do. You can't like make them see. You can't like fucking like Ludovico them and like
Yeah,
force them to
you
see.
like we're all trying to psyop each other like through these dramatic like performances of our
Yeah.
personalities, And like literally people, it's all adversarial. So they're like, the notion that there's ever a good faith discussion on here is just false, because it's an adversarial medium. Like, and you don't have a good, like, it's like saying that we have justice in the court system because you have like a prosecution and a defense. But it's like, I'm like my solo advocate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm defending myself in court, and it's like I'm up against like people who are manufacturing, like literally manufacturing fake evidence and like entering it into the record. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
literally what happens to me. I'm not even like dealing with like, I'm dealing with like a fucking artificial parallel reality version of myself that has been turned into like a legal person, like a legal fiction that like gets tossed around. Like, Lord knows what people, what like my fucking reputation is. I don't know. I don't know what people think of me. They all just like, you know what I mean? I get accused of so many things, or someone DM me and they're like, what's like, what like box are you in? Like, where are you?
Yeah.
Like, what are you? I'm just like, I'm me, dude. Like, you have to fucking adjust to that. Like, I'm not gonna hold your hand.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even get it when, like, I mean, people say crazy shit about you to me, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. They'll just say the craziest shit, and they're mad I don't even know why they're mad.
I don't know. It like someone, the one of the more disturbing things I saw is someone was like literally, remind you, these are like the quote unquote far right guys or whatever who are like against child
Mm-hmm.
grooming or whatever, and they're like, no matter what you do, we're gonna groom your kids to become Nazis. This was like a quote tweet to me. I was like, what a fuck? What is like? There's no like. I honestly I did pray for the death of America. Like, this country is beyond salvation. I'm okay with it. You know, I felt that way my entire life. That there's just something fundamentally beyond salvation at this point. Like, there is just a like complete, like, we're building the Antichrist. You know, we're not done yet, and we're not gonna stop them from building it.
We're not done yet. No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's like there's ideas like, oh yeah, we're gonna just tell them, hey, could you turn off the Antichrist machine that you're building?
Please, please, I'm voting. I'm voting in
I'm
good
voting against
conscience.
it.
I'm making my stand now. The Antichrist machine turns off.
Yeah, I demand it off. We're gonna run a Twitter poll. Should we turn it off?
Should we turn off the Antichrist machine, Elon Musk?
Elon Musk, could you do it? That's literally what they think he's doing, right? Like, that's literally like the mythos here, is that like Elon Musk with his like fucking Luciferian Warhammer 40K Martian theosophical Emperor Lord like
Oh
fucking
my god, I
costume
remember that.
avatar, and he is apparently going to turn off the Antichrist machine. It's like literally like Looney Tunes level idiocy. It's like Charlie Brown kicking the football level shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hey, Ella girl. So we looked at the data.
yeah, we looked at the data, and the Antichrist machine is very popular with high IQ demographics.
Yeah, it's very popular in SF. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man.
We took an internal poll amongst effective altruists. We found that the Antichrist machine is in fact good.
Jesus Christ, dude. It's fucking awful. I literally don't know. There's nothing to do but just like
Yeah,
fucking.
no. What's funny to me is like I just think like I guess we lived in a time where there was like a blip, there's like a sliding, there was like an internal contradiction amongst like the foreign policy, like the like NATO, etc., like Europe, America, this giant fucking thing. There's an internal contradiction based on like, what are we going to do with Russia now, right after the
Mhm.
mountains? Like, what do we do now? Well, we figured it out. We went back to normal. All of the machinery like only exists to work in this Cold War setting. So we had to like literally reorient the whole world to like bring it back. Like, let's do it again, because the machine is for one purpose only, and it can't do anything else.
I mean, they the Antichrist machine is the Russian hate machine. We turned it back on. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like straight up like it's the most misanthropic people who are like defended the most by this medium, right? Like, people who literally like ideologically are like anti-humanist or like transhumanists, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
post-humanist. Like, that's a protected legal class now. That is your like imperial unit class. They're worshiping like Venus Barbus. Like, we're in fucking Rome, you know what I mean? It's all right there. It's like
yeah.
people see it or they don't. And at this point, there's no point in trying to describe it in a type of language or verbiage that would be agreeable to somebody who's well educated and political science or whatever. It's pointless, absolute
Yeah,
pointlessness.
if I describe it in more discourse terms, it'll be fine. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like all of these people, like you try to describe like misanthropy, and they're like, that's base though. It's base to just be like,
A
you know,
parasite.
I'm the driver. I'm the driver. I'm a scorpion. It's like disgusting.
It really is. It really is. It's and like at the same time, there's like I'm here in the Rust Belt, man. I'm out here in Western Mass, and it's like the amount of overdoses that are continually happening. Like I'm going to a funeral tomorrow, okay, for my friend's
Mm.
dad who just showed they just found him dead in a hospital. Okay, according to the coroner's report right now, it's a heart attack. When the toxicology comes through, we're gonna find fentanyl because it's just a fucking pattern. This isn't the first time I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every day. And I don't know, like it like clearly this is how it is, like there's no way out, but to live through it. It's gonna keep
Yeah,
happening.
I mean, yeah. There's it's fucked.
It's bad, dude. But
Yeah,
that's why it's like I'm trying to like make a little corner of the world like nice, and that's why I can't be doing this anymore because I can't allow these forces to be invading me like all the time. You know what I mean? Like I've got to put up some walls.
no, I mean, I'm with you. I've been basically like indoors for the past like 2 weeks for the most part because I've been really sick and it's like unusually rainy in LA. And it's just been hell. It's just been hell because I just look at the Twitter timeline and it's like you're just like trapped in hell. Like I'm trapped in my bed. I've got like a fever. It's just it's just not a good time. But the only solace really has been literally like fucking reading Gulliver's Travels and the Bible.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is, though. Like, that's honestly, it's funny because it's like that's how I felt my entire life. I was miserable in school. I hated all this shit, and like all I ever did, like I would just read and like that was my escape, really. Like, not saying like escapist in this, like, oh, just like plug yourself
Yeah,
into the fun machine or whatever, but kind of like entering a domain where it feels like things actually matter, i.e., like in the world of literature, these things seem to matter more. Like like good like truth matters more in literature than it does in our day-to-day lives.
yeah. It, it's fucking bad, man. I'm glad you're getting off of here. It's like truly like I don't know. I just want my fellas to be happy.
Yeah, man, I mean, this place is definitely not somewhere that's like good for your mind. I would recommend people not beyond, but I'm a total hypocrite for saying so considering how long I spent here. But
I mean, me too. But I mean, I'm at the point now where it's like basically my only like friends that I talk to are like people I've met on here, and
well,
it's like
it's like kind of inevitable though, because like what I was really looking for is like, okay, well, I want to talk about, like, you read something. The sad thing about reading something is like you want to talk about it with someone, and it's like, has anyone else read this shit? So I had to like
yeah,
make people read the shit that I wanted to talk about, so that other people had the like had the experience of reading it or whatever. But at this point, like I've got my people, like I've got a small circle of people who are like not just like pretending to be interested in something, but are like legitimately interested in it. Like,
yeah.
like Stilicho sends me a link to like a Chinese detective movie from like 2014, and he goes, go to 12 minutes and 40 seconds in and listen to the song in the background. And it's a Chinese cover of Bob Dylan's Changing of the Guards. That is the only thing I want from people. The only
That's
thing I
amazing.
want from people, that's all I want. All I want is some people sending me things that will put a huge fucking smile on my face like that. That's all I want. Like, that's useful to me. That's helpful.
I'll get you some shit soon.
Well,
I'm playing
when you
catch
send
up
me
right
One
now.
Piece shit, that's what it does for me. Because
Oh,
I've been
okay.
in my time off Twitter. Instead of going on Twitter, I've just been reading One Piece. Oh, it's
Oh,
better,
how
and
far are
so
you?
I'm at the end of Skypiea now, but Skypiea
Okay,
has been a
okay.
slog. I'm not gonna
See,
lie.
Skype, no, it is. It is.
It's
Yeah.
not great. It's not great.
Look, the last feud, I mean, did you at least get like the Sanji with the fucking cigarette thing? That shit's kind of epic, though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, the cool parts, but it's just like I just know that there's going to be better, more interesting stuff in the future. So I'm just like, come on, let's get to it.
it's like Skype is like basically interesting, like insofar as it's like structurally, like it
Like the
becomes like you just
current, it's like Wano now, right? Like I feel like he wrote it in like a kind of symmetrical, like kind of fearful symmetry way, right? Uh-huh. So it's like
yeah, yeah,
if like
yeah.
the Wano arc is like the Skypiea 2 or whatever, then it's like that means that it's like winding down towards the end because like that's like where we're at.
Skype is sort of the midpoint um of the first half,
Yeah,
but but I don't know. It's like there hasn't been like a one-to-one with Skypiea. It's really weird. It's sort of just it gets echoed in parts,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like all of the other shit, yeah, yeah, it has a whole symmetry thing to it.
Yeah. So I'm just more interested in that. Like we'll this year we'll definitely finish our One Piece thing at some point when I get to it. When I finish it,
Yeah,
so
no,
we can talk about
no,
it.
no rush, no
I
rush.
mean, I have all these spaces downloaded, man. Like I have all of the ones I've done. I like have them. The thing is like I just don't know how much like all I hear really is like complaints like about like my podcast or whatever. Like I mostly get like people being like, "You say like too much," or "This
What?
audio quality isn't the best," or whatever. And I don't really care about that much. But I hope people like it or care about it in some way. I don't know. I'm gonna keep doing it, I guess. But I just don't. I can't really tell how much of like a demand there is for what I do. I honestly can't. I have no idea because I feel like it looks like I have a lot of followers, but I feel like a ton of them are just like dead accounts.
Haters.
And
Oh,
that, yeah, and that.
yeah.
Like I don't really know like what my audience is. Like I don't know. I know I have like it's funny to me because I look at like how many copies of like Herman Melville's books did he sell in like their initial runs, and he definitely outsold me on like Type and stuff like that. But my favorite shit he ever did, like my favorite works that he wrote, like I've actually outsold at this point, which just makes me feel like my shit was mediocre enough to like sell. So then I really think like the best thing I could write would be completely unsellable. It would just be like, you know what I mean? If I like really made like a complete like what I wanted to write like perfectly, took the rest of my life and wrote like this massive tome, I don't think it would ever be read ever.
Mm. It would be read by me.
Yeah, yeah, and then that's kind of
Yeah,
just sad. I don't know.
yeah. I don't
So I
know.
don't know.
Oh man.
I am working on books though, just because. What else is there to do? I don't know. What else is there to do?
Well, I hope you finish the little cycle that you were envisioning.
Yeah,
See
I'm
what
gonna.
happens with
I
it.
think I'll do that. I'm trying to do that. I wrote. I've been writing more on it, so it's yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I kind of the
my
thing is like what like I stopped writing it for a while because I was like, how do I want to write this? Like what exactly style or whatever. So I was writing it in like different parts of it in different ways. And now I'm kind of just like, yeah, I'm just gonna write like all the parts of it however I feel like writing them. I'm not trying to like I don't know, I was trying to do something more cohesive when it like with one narrator or whatever, but I don't think that's as
Hmm.
interesting.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. It's probably going to be like more like how in like Moby Dick it's like suddenly like a stage play and then it's like not a stage play anymore. Things like that.
Hmm.
I'm just doing whatever I feel like at this point.
That sounds fun. You got to put some songs in there like tension.
Oh yeah, dude, that's like the whole thing. Oh, you want to hear it? You want to hear my? I don't know if you heard my little ditty. I'll play it for you right now. And
Oh, let's go.
I've been trying to get like Fahey level, but I'm not quite there yet. But all right. It's really just like a pretty simple thing. It's just doing like Travis picking with some like hammer-ons and stuff. But it feels really
No,
fun
that's
to
nice.
play, and it took me this long of practice to be able to do it. So that's what's been most satisfying to me in the last couple of months is playing guitar and getting better at it again.
Yeah, I gotta find something to fucking do. I've been just sort of like I just collecting books for fun, which is silly, and then reading some of them. That's basically it. I need to get back in like cooking probably, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you're a true chef. I think you have a chef's sensibilities.
I think so too. It's a good time, but I have zero interest in any of the like being paid or anything for that shit. I don't know. My parents were like, you should have went to culinary school, and I was like, that is
The CIA,
retarded.
the Culinary Institute of America.
Dude, that's next to my sister's college. They're like, the CIA does our lunches. And I was like, that's awesome.
The Committee on Incandescent Anomalies.
Yeah. Have you seen they have a recipe for mapo tofu and it's like fried,
Use
it's like deep
ketchup.
fried tofu. Yeah, literally. It's literally insane. It's like green bell peppers and like deep fried tofu. It's like I don't even it's like tofu fajitas. That's what they think mapo tofu is. That's what the
Yikes.
CIA thinks of mapo tofu. It's evil. I mean, that's what the CIA thinks of China, basically. They think China should be Mexico. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense,
but
actually.
yeah, yeah, that
Psychologically.
was
What's
actually
funny, like,
low
I don't
key.
know. I'm just kind of
Yeah,
rambling now. I'm kind of rambling now, but the fucking all I cared about today was hopefully someone else at some point when I was reading the Melville story, the part at Gog and Magog, saw what I saw and felt the same kind of relief that it is not merely I who have seen this, but in fact the greatest writers of all time have generally picked up on these patterns and reproduced them for us, and that's all that we do as writers is we just hold the we say the same stories over again. We keep them alive somehow. This type of esoteric knowledge, even of the Guildhall charities and the statue of Gog and Magog and its sardonic grin, which haunts me.
I definitely had a little bit of a sardonic grin when I heard that part. It was nice.
Yeah, it's stuff like that that is like what like that's where I don't know. It makes you feel less alone to know that I don't know other people felt this way. Like I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about Melville said like writing about Hawthorne said that Hawthorne's greatness is in the fact that he says no to the world. He says no.
Yeah, I saw you tweet that, and I was smiling for sure. It was great.
Because I think that's true. I think that you're supposed to say no. Jesus said no to the world. You know, that's all he did. He was like, no, this ain't it.
No,
I'm not from here. I'm
no,
different.
no, no, thank you, Mister Worldly Wisdom.
Yeah,
The Pilgrim's Progress is great.
Pilgrim's Progress is so good. It's all that stuff is so good. There's so much beautiful literature. You know, there's so much goodness
Yeah,
in the world, but it's
yeah,
also
but you just have to go and find it though.
yeah, it's like you have to have faith that all of those good things are recognized by God and not even because you can't have faith in man. You can't have faith in men. You can't have faith in the world. You can't have faith in society. You can't have faith in
Have faith in
progress.
yourself.
You can't have faith in
Believe
yourself.
in
You shouldn't
yourself.
believe in yourself either. You should not believe in yourself at all.
I agree. No, I agree. People say to believe in yourself, and it's
That's the
like,
religion of our day.
very interesting.
It's a very
Yeah, literally.
satanic.
Somebody was like, "No, but Satanism is believing in yourself, and that's base." And I was like, you don't get it.
It's like
You don't get it, and I can't help you."
yeah.
Uh,
Many such cases, my friend.
I'm,
Many such cases.
yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I read fucking Dante, and I see his like nightmares of fucking Beatrice handing him his heart on a platter, and I'm just like, fuck. It's not good. It's not. It's but there is a good camaraderie there.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
we're all going
but
through it,
yeah,
man. Everyone's going through the same thing. And we're all like, that's the other thing is like,
yeah.
it's all one thing. Like, we're all in the same world. We're all in the same history. We're all in the same moment. We're all in the same state of being. So this notion that like people are like, accessing some other worlds or whatever is complete horseshit.
Ooh, it's mysticism. It's so mystical.
It's really not. It's pretty dumb.
So
It's pretty
it's
boring.
real. It's impenetrable. It's impenetrable. Hmm. Well, what did he mean in Finnegan's Wake when he said the fall and then a big lightning sound? I don't get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's all there. It's all there everywhere.
Yeah, it's just people don't want to see it because it actually, as Solomon says, right, in Ecclesiastes, the wisdom of Solomon, knowledge increases sorrow, which is true. The more you know, the
Yeah.
more you hurt. It's not. That's why, like, Christianity reorients this notion of suffering as being something good, because you that's what, like, one who doesn't suffer, like complete idiots, like people like the rich idiots who are just insulated from all things. They think that they suffer, but they don't even know what suffering is. They have no idea. It's completely
Yeah.
alien to them.
Oh no, I have to eat the thigh tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hell.
I think that
Oh man.
metaphor in the rich man's crumbs, I think it's so true to this day too, that this is our form. This is like, our form of charity is like, TVs are cheaper than ever.
Yeah,
Toy
yeah.
purchases have gone
Oh
up.
my god. Yeah, you can live like a king. You can have Hasbro action figures.
You can do it all. Yeah, you get poor man's crumbs. That's like Pornhub. It's like you're not Jeffrey
Yeah.
Epstein, but you get the crumbs.
Yeah, yeah, I don't even need to go into it.
Well, that's what it
I
is.
was just going to basically describe what you were talking about more vividly, and
Yeah,
then I was like, I don't need to do that.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
that's just what it is. Like, it's there. I don't know. I was talking to the what Neo-Bactrian or whatever. All he does all day is talk about, how the transgender question or whatever is like the defining issue of the time. And it's like, well, you're talking to these people who ultimately are pagans. Like, they're like, we're most people are pagans in this world, in our America today, right? Immediately, like, it's always like Christianity is the thing that's most despised now. Like, they pretend that
yeah,
Christianity has this institutional power, and like when they're really talking about are these like satanic, like evangelical churches in the first place, which are no means should be representative of Christ's ministry. But this is what they
yeah,
mean, and then they're like, oh well, at least us at the Satanic Temple will allow you to put anything in whatever orifice, as opposed to one in the Christian church where you have to, the Christian evangelical church, where you can do that so long as you're high enough up in the fucking caste. They're like, we're more equitable with our crumbs.
yeah. We'd eat the magic cracker.
Yeah, so annoying, man. I don't know, but it's nice talking to you, Mage. I want to give other people
Yeah,
an
no,
option to come on before I hit the
yeah, no,
road. Peace, man.
yeah, yeah. Later, man. Hit me up.
Yeah, I know.
Once
No,
you're
we're
off the
actually
website.
friends.
Yeah,
We're like actually friends. It's
I
different,
know, I know, I know.
All right, peace, man.
All right, later, man.
All right, so if anyone wants to got anything, anyone got I got a request. Oh, Tiger, we're actually friends too. Tiger, you're not gonna be missing me. You texted me today.
What up, brother?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. New Year's, like when people say like, "Oh, New Year's resolutions don't really matter and whatnot." Like, yeah, they don't matter if you don't act on them. But I think if you start something in January, it's like way more powerful than like, something in the middle of the year.
Yeah, I don't know. I've done resolutions and broken them. I've done them and not, and this is kind of my resolution, right? But I'm not doing it for the new year, right? Like, I'm already a week late.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I kind of like felt like I had some housekeeping to do, and then of course posting anything while being like, I'm getting off of this, is everyone, including my wife, being like, I thought you were gonna be done, and I'm like, I'm gonna be done. I just have to finish up. And like, you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Because you've said for
It's been a
I'm
long
gonna
time.
quit. I'm gonna quit, and then you keep going, and like it's like an artist trying to finish his work, right? You're trying to like finish your tomb of all
I
things.
want to, yeah, kind of, but it's like I'm also not going anywhere. Like, all of the shit I've ever written is going to be on my archive, and I'll still be writing. It's just that I won't be writing on Twitter anymore.
Hmm. What do
I
you
just don't
think?
think it's a good medium for what I want to do anymore.
Is
Like, I'm not interested in like low effort engagements.
is that like the crux of like your decision?
Well, it's also like I want to. It's sort of like I'm like the type of person. I have like a kind of addictive temperament. Like, if I have cigarettes, I'm going to smoke them. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's like, if I have this around, I'm going to write it on Twitter instead of writing somewhere else. Like, if I have a thought,
Mm,
instead of putting it somewhere else, I'll end up tweeting it, which is what I've been
mm.
doing for a long time, right? And it's like, that was good. I mean, I built up
people who gave a shit at all. But it's also like at this point, I want to do something more than just put it out there and have it get fucking digested in the maw of this algorithm, Because it's like I
Right.
put so much good shit out there. Like I've written, it's like I feel like I don't even get to feel the recognition for like what I've already done, in the sense that it's like it doesn't exist in some composite form. I've written like 3 War and Peace's worth of Twitter threads, like in word count.
Right.
So, but that somehow, for some reason, on Twitter is considered like an inverse signal, where it's like, oh, you tweet too much, therefore it's bad. And it's like, well, actually, I'm just more productive than all. Like I can write thousands of words a day, no issue. You know what I mean? And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm just going to be doing it in a way where it then gets packaged as something quote unquote more substantial. So it's like if I, instead of writing Twitter threads, spent 3 months writing all my Twitter threads and then been like, this is my book of essays for this month or whatever the fuck, then it would be considered more legitimate in some way.
And okay, so how do you think you're gonna like reach your people? Are you just like hoping that they're gonna follow you to
Well,
your website,
there's all the
whatever?
people here. I'm not going to delete my account. I'm just deleting everything on it. And it's going to be on my website. I have a website. Probably going to put an email list on there, I guess, or whatever. But it's like I have my own website. If you want to know what I'm up to, you just go on my website. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'll find new people that way, but I think I mostly find people through like word of mouth at this point anyway. Most people don't even like, I'm like pretty rate limited and things like that on algorithmically. My shit isn't allowed to grow too much. I don't think my stupidest tweets are the ones that are allowed, that like for whatever reason are allowed to like take off, like my fucking Sheldon tweet. I had like 500 retweets by the time I deleted it, and I was like, this is exactly why I have to get off of this fucking
Yep.
platform.
Yep. That's what. Yeah. This platform, it just likes the short bite-sized stuff that just evokes that immediate emotional reaction, but not like the long form thing. Oh, I mean, those
It's
do
made for
pop off,
drill.
but it's not the same level.
It's made for drill. Okay, like the account drill. Like the algorithm is designed for
Yeah.
these little like quippy. I think quips. I would say, what do I hate most about the West right now? It's quips. I hate quips and takes. I hate the kind of affected sort of like above it allness of like just commentating on things as if they're all below you or whatever. It's so annoying.
I think there's a poem in there, quips and takes, using those words to do something.
Yeah, whips and snakes, man.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Well, man, I'll let other people have a chat because we
Yeah.
talk every
Yeah,
week or
we're
whatever.
friends.
But yeah,
You're my boy,
yeah,
dude. We're always gonna be
yeah.
incommunicado. So
Oh yeah, and I think I'm coming up to Northeast area sometime this year, so I will definitely hit you up when
yeah,
I'm over
definitely
there.
let
But
me
yeah,
know. We can hook up at some point. Peace, man. Well, nice
amazing.
talking to you as always. Peace, Tiger.
Yeah, dude. Talk soon, and good luck with your next ventures.
You too, man. All right, Calvin. What can I do for you, Calvin?
Hey, Logo, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Hey, not too much, just kind of getting back into the swing of things in the new year, hanging out at work, trying to figure out how not to be at work. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're salary chilling, I imagine, if you're on my space.
Yeah, for
So you're
sure.
getting paid right now.
For
Want to
sure.
know who's not getting paid right now? Me. So you're getting paid to be on my space, but I'm not. Isn't that weird?
That is funny. I don't think I had thought of that before.
Yeah, it's weird. I honestly give my shit away. You know what I'm saying? Like you're getting paid to be on my space right now. Do you need? And people tell me to get a job, and it's like, why? So I can get paid to be on a Twitter space? Because like, what do you do in your job anyway, right? Like, are you in an office?
Yeah. No, I work from home, so I'm just hanging out.
But like, is it office work? Like, is it
I'm a
you
product
just like
designer.
compiling
I
documents?
work in,
Okay,
yeah,
so kind
yeah.
of.
But yeah, it's funny because I feel like a lot of the people who are the biggest strivers, like their goal is to do or to like achieve what you have, which is like have a big Twitter following because then they figure they can
It sucks.
monetize it. Yeah.
They don't even know. That's what that's what I wanted too. I was like, and I figured the same thing. I figured I had a better shot. Like, I wanted to be a writer, and I was like, well, I'm never going to get accepted. Like, the way I write, the things I do, I'm too acerbic and like antagonistic. Like, if I was applying to put a short story in a journal somewhere or whatever, I'd want it to really bother them. You know what I mean? Because I don't like the culture of like MFA literary people. I don't read contemporary literature because I think it's garbage. So it's like the only way I'm going to have an audience is if I get my own. And then it's like you do get that, but it comes at cost. And then once you do have that, you realize that it's like that's not really what you wanted in the end. Like it's not satisfying. Like you might think that it would be satisfying to like accrue a following and like monetize it and just like live off that, but really it's just like it's the same ideology that everyone else is doing. It's this notion of you becoming a landlord, effectively a small petty bourgeois landlord over intellectual property, which you can then extract rents from by inducing artificial scarcity around it. And I'm doing that. Like I'm a hypocrite for saying that like this is like what our society is like training everyone to desire. And then it's like, well, obviously that's what I desired, and like I did it and I have it, and I'm like saying like you don't want this, but you know what I mean. But clearly, like I understand the appeal because like I did that. You know what I mean? I'm here. I'm not innocent, right? Like everyone else, like call me a grifter or whatever, like everyone else, but everyone's doing the same thing, which is just creating like monetizing attention packets and rentier land rent extraction on artificially scarce intellectual properties, which should be free and superfluous.
But it sounds
in a good world.
It sounds like this next chapter you're stepping into is kind of moving away from that, right? It seems like it's got a different focus.
I want to, at this point, this is more about like fidelity to myself, I think. Like I've wanted to write this book that I have in mind. I don't know, like, I don't know who it's for. I don't know who it's for. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the point of it is, but it's like, I want to do it. I feel compelled to write it for some reason. And I want to do that. It's not really about like, it's not really like a charitable act to write to make art, right? Like making art is not a charitable act. Like, oh wow, like thank you so much for writing a book for me. It's like, well, no one ever wrote a book for you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I think there is. I don't want to say like a selfishness, but kind of like a making art for yourself requires making space for it. I don't know. This is something I've been struggling with as well, like committing to kind of my own creative projects.
Struggling with it, honestly, because it's like, well, it's like think about it this way, right? Where it's like if you want to be, if the goal is just to like be able to extract rents on this thing, then you're going to end up ultimately doing this something that it isn't what you want to do, but is the thing that is most salable. And then you're going to do that over and over. And that's kind of what I've done when it comes to participating in political discourse. That is the thing that people want because it gets a lot of attention, and it seems, and like that's the most popular type. That's the content that drives the most engagements because it's like on the edge. You get a lot of negative engagements, but that also drives positive engagements. And if you're actually like a scientist here, the moral valence or people's opinions or whatever you say is completely irrelevant. All that matters is how many eyes you get. Right. So I know how to write something that'll get a lot of eyes on it and will create a lot of discourse around it, etc. And I did that over and over and over and over and over again. But that's not what I want to do. That's never what I wanted to do. What I wanted was for my most popular content to be things like the poems I write, the things that I like put myself into, the things that I'm proud of. I'm not proud of my political takes. I think they're like, I shot them off. They're not hard for me to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I pride myself on, is like political take making or whatever, as much as other people would like say that that's the only thing I have to offer. Right. But I pride myself mostly on like my poetry, on like the things I've written. Like I wrote a novel, and it's like I have to act like all these people who like don't write anything, have no conception of what is good writing or bad writing anyway, will be like, this isn't even like a real novel. It's a pseudo novel. It's not like it's like a vanity publication or whatever. And it's like, I don't fucking care. I know that it's good. I know that it's good.
Are you familiar with Jonathan Pajot, the contemporary iconographist?
Yeah, he follows.
Okay, cool. What do you think of his idea of the inevitability of reenchantment? Are you familiar with that?
I think that's already happened. So I'm more cynical than he is. He's I think he's a little insulated from the actual depths of the depravity on the internet, because he's like kind of a Gen X boomer type guy. He's kind of naive, I think. He's a good guy. He's a nice guy. He's got nothing but good intentions. But I don't think, and like I don't know, he's writing like a kid's book. He's
Mm.
writing he's like putting out like a thing on Snow White or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. We need re-enchantment. That's what Disney fucking says. Okay, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Like that's not like what we need is complete disenchantment.
Mm.
Is what we need.
Mm.
We do not need more enchantment. I disagree very strongly on that. One of what enchantment is. Enchantment is when you start to believe that your LARP persona, as like whatever the fuck you pretend to be
Mm.
online, is like now reality.
Mm.
That's like this is like what Bataille described as like the like this re-enchantment was what all of these secret societies are attempting to do. Why do you join like a witch's
Mm.
coven? It's to re-enchant yourself with like instead of being like, is it like am I poor because of fucking
Mm.
history or is it because I my chakras are not
Mm.
aligned, right? Is it because my chakras are not aligned? And what I should do is I got to just do some more like witchy, like ritualistic things, and that'll change my vibes, and then power positive thinking. I'll attract good vibes to me, and all this is really just marketing. When we talk about enchantment, what it means is marketing,
I
right? Like that is what it
I
is.
think he would
That's what
actually
marketers do.
agree with you for the most part, because I think he thinks that it's kind
Yeah,
of a dangerous thing, that like re-enchantment for most people is like be like realizing that there are demons out there speaking to them.
paganism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, synonymous with this rise or like this triumph of paganism that you were talking about
Yeah, I mean, we
earlier.
straight up are sending billions of dollars in armaments to like Azov black battalions who are doing sacrifices to Perun, the Slavic thunder god
Mm.
of Proto Indo-European extraction. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's reality.
Yeah, I think it's also like way more rooted in everyday life too. Like I think about like my grandma talking to her smart speaker and like being enchanted by this little speaker talking back to her or
I think the iPhone itself has done this
mm,
because what it's done is it's made a UI which no longer requires the person using it to have any kind of understanding of like the superstructure
mm,
underneath it, right? So it's like when I was growing up learning how to use computers or whatever, it was like considered difficult to like use
mhm,
computers. Even then, these UIs were making it easier and easier. But these days, the UI feels what people would say natural, right? This touchscreen
sure.
interface like is being trained on kids like from birth now, and it's just natural. It's just natural. Whereas that never is true with like a keyboard and a mouse. That never feels natural at any point,
Yeah.
right? The way that like swiping does, because swiping it like replicates the way you interact with anything else, but you don't interact with literally anything else the way you do with a keyboard and
Yeah.
mouse, right? There's nothing else in your life you interact in that way. But a phone, the iPhone, which I'm holding right before me right now, is the same way like you interact with so many things in reality. So and because of that then distinction, right, that really enchantment is like when you were blind to how the actual operating of things. When you're enchanted, it's because they're a mystery to you. It's something beyond you is operating.
Mm,
So like people uploading shit or whatever to TikTok and then having it blow up, and they're like, wow, this is that's enchantment. They're being enchanted because they're like, this, wow, like I've been chosen by the algorithm. I'm really special. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna, I'm different.
mm,
I'm special, but it's like not really.
yeah. It's kind of funny in the product design space if you ask uh like like most designers to recommend a book to you about design or like what the most compelling design thoughts are, they'll probably recommend like a book to you called Don't Make Me Think, or they'll talk about the
Yeah.
idea of like design to delight. And like these are the very common phrases that fly around, or kind of the concepts that build, I guess, much of the thought and motivation.
Well, like the enchantment is all existing. It's all the
Mm,
marketing for the superstructure, the like more material superstructure that you're actually swallowing with the pill. It's like the coating, the candy coating
mhm,
on the
sure.
pill. Like content itself is kind of the candy coating on the pill. This is like McLuhan's whole thing about the medium is the message, because the message you're getting from being on Twitter isn't any of the content on it. It is the medium of Twitter itself. When you become enchanted with it, that is the medium being the message, right? Where you're like, and I have been enchanted. I was enchanted with Twitter, like way back in the day. Let's say like 2015. I was very enchanted with Twitter because I like was like I can create discourse
Mm,
like by fucking sitting here and like just typing things. I think like wow, this is crazy. This is magical,
mm,
you know. There's a whole obsession with like meme magic, etc. It was very hard to resist.
Yeah. I'm curious if like stepping away from Twitter and this stuff is like going to mean more of a local focus, or like I guess a narrowing of the focus in your life, like a different kind of scale. I think like this kind of enchantment.
Well, I just have a different set of priorities because now like me is number two. You know what I mean?
Gotcha,
Like
gotcha.
whatever my
Yeah, yeah,
concerns
yeah.
are automatically not the primary concern.
Gotcha.
So it's like you know, I'd rather like build a crib for my daughter than you know, like write a novel.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather like have the ability to like you know have a house.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what actually matters to me.
Yeah, for sure. I guess that is like a localizing, but just like an even smaller scale, like towards the domestic, towards like the immediate needs of that. Like
Yeah, because it's like now I have to, you know, now it's like, you know, all these things hypothetically, like if you have no fucking investment in reality in the sense of like having progeny or someone to care for more than yourself or whatever, someone's going to live beyond you,
Yeah.
like with your name or whatever. Like your relation to like political, like, you know what I mean? Like I just like, I care perhaps more now even about the fact that America is getting worse. And I'm also aware of like what little I can do, but I'm more of like, feel like I can provide a good environment to like be able to withstand that.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
like because that's really what you have to train kids for now is like, like I don't know, I think we can forgive our older generations, our parents, etc. For kind of throwing us to the wolves when it comes to this media ecosystem, right? Like I kind of just like was online, you know, like at like the age of like 9, you know, at like 12, seeing shit that fucked me up. You know what I mean? Like the internet, like everyone talks about, oh, the internet was so much more fun when it was like more psychopathic and depraved openly. But it's like when you're and like you kind of feel like when you're 12, you're like, ooh, this is all forbidden stuff. Ooh. And it's like you kind of it's enchanting in that way. But at the same time, it's like, do I really need like how many fucking live leak videos and like super fucked up shit did I see? Like when I was like 12, you know what I'm saying? Like it's fucked.
I still
I
feel
don't want
like
my kids to go through that.
yeah, for sure. I still feel like I'm haunted of some by some of that stuff. I had a very similar experience, and yeah,
I think we all
yeah.
did. And it's like, in a certain way, like it's like people are reticent to admit this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's much more chic, especially in this interface on the internet environment. If you said this like in real life, people would look at you weird. If you were like, yeah, I think like you know, I think it's like I watch like watch people die videos. Like they're kind of funny, you know, if you're kind of like detached from it or whatever. Like that's a pretty normative thing actually in like internet culture. Is like just completely taking joy from other people's suffering, like from the most like horrific shit in the world. You can say pornography is just that in general. Just the enjoyment of the exploitative content is normative on the internet, but people are still reticent to like talk about it in any like real sense. In reality, I mean, we're even getting to that point like with trans stuff where it's like finally you can have somewhat of a conversation about it because like 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even in real life people were like, I don't know, at least in my experience, they were like, that's such a fringe, like no one really cares. Or it's like they weren't really thinking about where does this issue even come from. But yeah, you know, some people are weird and different and you should just be accepting of them. But I was talking to my father-in-law actually yesterday. Because like one of his like friends, his kids or whatever, was like trans now. And they were like, they don't have that many friends. And I was like, well, they probably have a lot of internet friends. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, if they're you know, if they're considering themselves a different gender and they don't have a lot of friends at school, where do you think they get all their socialization from? Like it's all on the internet, right? So it's like they have a ton of, and I was explaining how like the internet interface itself like produces the ideology of transgenderism because it's like when you're online, you can force people to identify you the way you want them to, right? Like if you type, you can be a girl online, right? Like how would you even know?
I actually think this kind of relates back to the idea of re-enchantment, because I think Pajot kind of means it in a very fanciful, literal sense, where it's like we're going to have dragons again. But I think like with like trans stuff, you do see like a rise in chimeric beings and kind of Yeah.
It's just like he's calling it that, but I would just call it imperial decadence. Like nothing that is happening now is new to anyone who's read like late era Roman satires. It's literally like 1-to-1 translation. In fact, that was like a good amount of last year. I was working on a script that we were trying to pitch to like HBO, which is basically just a contemporary adaptation of a Roman satire like Apuleius' Golden Ass about like a Twitch streamer house. And I put a lot of effort into that, but it didn't end up going anywhere. But like that's like the sort of thing I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
Is like to make stuff like that. But I don't know if that's even I don't know if it's like worth it. You know what I mean? Because it's like I want all these movies, all the good movies that come out now are all about how the directors and the artists who like have reached this position where they can command like $40 million to industrially produce like this spectacle. That all of the movies that are like from like auteur directors are about how it's like sucks, that like they hate it. You know what I mean? Like the Banshee of Inisherin really fucked me up because I understood it. Like, you know, I felt it. Like where it's like I am often like I don't want to deal with all these concerns. I want to go, you know, make I want to be Mozart in my room by myself or whatever. But it's like if that ends up like hurting people around you that are like real in your like daily life, then like it's obviously wrong. You know what I mean? Like it's obviously like in that movie he should have hung out with his boy in the pub and listened to his boring stories, you know? He shouldn't have this prideful conception of himself as someone who's like befit to like create eternal works of art or whatever. I mean, you want to feel that way, right? But it's kind of meaningless one way or the other. Ultimately, like whether or not the thing you write is considered important or like has a legacy, it doesn't really matter. But it does matter, like if you're like your attempt to do this like harms people around you in a real sense.
Totally. I'm still thinking about that.
Or it's like Tar's like that too. Like there's all these movies right now, right, about like the kind of hubris of the West. Because the thing is that no one wants to really admit is that the reason why things are the way that they are is because we invented something we call the creative class during World War II, right? And really what it is the propaganda making class. And we gave that out to the public. We were like, hey, we're gonna let everyone make propaganda. You know, everyone can make anti-communist propaganda. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we had the freedom. We were granted this individualistic freedom. And it's like, hey, yeah, you can be a Grateful Dead fan. Like you can, and there's this whole like kind of kayfabe notion that all of this like transgressive counterculture was somehow more radical than like Mao, right? That it's like actually Mao was a reactionary, backward, like Asiatic despot and tyrant who really belongs in like the Bronze Age or something. But we in America, we had Woodstock, you know, and Woodstock was like being, you know, things like that. So it's like this is the real myth of the real problem in America is that like we worship art. We worship art and artists too much, way too much, way too much. It's actually a detriment to art itself, the fact that we do so.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna sign off for now. Let some other people come on and talk.
Yeah,
but I really,
thanks for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate everything you do. Thanks.
Peace, man. All right, Costco. What's up? What can I do for you? All right, Costco. I don't know if it's working for you, so I'm gonna add C with the. I don't know what that avatar is. Looks like a bear with a new Shanka.
Yes, that's what I found.
What's up, C?
How's it going?
What can I do for you?
Well, you said something in a space a couple months ago, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. Kind of. You said the church is antichrist, and I definitely agree because I remember I left the church after high school, like the evangelical church, and definitely knew that. But then I went into like ex-evangelical spaces, which is way more antichrist.
Just as bad.
if
Yeah.
not worse. Some of the most insane things I've ever seen came out of that space. But so I'm just kind of like in the church is clearly antichrist. Even like locally, our churches are like coming out that just filled with pedophiles, like literally. And
Yeah, I mean they're mostly NGOs that are raising money either for Democrats or Republicans, right? Like in the American context, at the end of the day.
right. So as like Christians and as communists, like because I am both of those, then it's like, how do you handle that? Just as like explaining like, and a lot of people need church for the community aspect, and when you lose that a lot of things. But there's just like pretty much no alternative in the society we've built right now. And I've just
Well, I don't think that's actually true because I don't think people actually use churches in that way. I mean, that's kind of like more like saying like people need their homeowners associations. You know what I mean? There's a myriad of these like little societies that exist. You could be a member of the homeowners association or whatever the fuck. Like you the lake club, or you're in the pool team or whatever the fuck.
right.
Like there's a myriad of these social organizations. The church is just one that has a lot of capital, or like in some circumstances has a lot of capital or has accrued a lot of capital.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's like people say it for that reason too. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to kind of put into words why. Like obviously there's the obvious reasons the church is antichrist. And people will say, oh,
Well, it's pretty basic stuff, right? So it's like you cannot serve both God and mammon. Okay. Do the churches serve God or do they serve capital? It's like obviously they serve capital. We know that, right? Like it's very. And if you don't see that, you know what I mean. If people don't see that, then I don't know what to do with it. But I feel like if you are following Christ by His word, I got to mute you for a sec just because I heard the background noises. But if you're following it, I got to do it again. Oh, there you go. Thank you. It's self-evident that these churches are worshiping capital, and like this is what the point of the Antichrist is, like why it was talked about. It's because the biggest problem, if you look at Acts, right, like look at Peter, like God literally kills two people in Acts, like in the narrative here, for for not giving their property to the community, right, that they were holding on to their property and making gains off of it, and they lied about it to Peter, right. So like this notion that of like private property or whatever in this sense being somehow defended by the church is completely antichrist. This idea that like hoarding, like making money is in it of itself like godly or good is completely antichrist. Because the point of the antichrist, like number 666, where does that come from in the Bible? It comes from the book of Kings, I believe. I think it's the book of Kings. I recall it being in the book of Kings. Anyway, or Chronicles, I don't remember. But that is the amount of talents that King Solomon received in gold as tribute, right? And it's that gold in the temple, which is what corrupts the temple. It is the accruing of capital that corrupts the temple, right? So instead of distributing it, right? That's the whole point. So when you see these churches that are living on their accrued capital, you look at the Catholic Church, the Catholic banks, et cetera, the Vatican Bank, et cetera, or like the Templar churches, their banks, et cetera. All of this comes from the pursuit of capital because they're serving capital. They're not serving God. That's what I see. You want to know who I think are the real Christians? When you see those fucking people that are just out there screaming the Bible on the side of the road and people are like, wow, those people are insane. Those are the real Christians. Those are people who are doing that. Are they getting paid to do that? No. What are they doing it for? They're doing it like at their own expense solely for God. Like it is not to accrue capital. That's where all the evil comes from. Everyone knows this. It's so boring to like criticize the evangelical churches, but I think it's just as bad to like be like, oh, let's they're actually all good and we just need to let them run things. It wouldn't change anything fundamentally. Like if we have Ron DeSantis evangelical Christian fascism or whatever the fuck people are talking about, that's what this is anyway. That's what this is. We are there. We're already in it. It's all the same fucking thing. It's just the worship of the empire and the capital that it accrues. That's why it's the Antichrist. It's that simple. Like that's what are we supposed to look for in the Antichrist? It's that's the Antichrist.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely true. And like I remember one of these liberal people were saying to me that like Christian nationalism is the biggest threat to our country or whatever. I'm like, it's like all the same thing. Like just like finance capitalism. Like the church was just a brilliant way to like use that as like a way to like almost legitimize the whole thing through faith instead of like people who, because if you read the Bible, the people of faith should be the most radical ones, but then when you get them to become the most not radical, or with radical for like
Yeah.
random things or whatever.
Have you heard of La Luz del Mundo,
I have not.
the Light of the World Church? So this is like a really big church in Mexico, which kind of spun off of some of like the radical Mormons, like the fundamental LDS, like FLDS, who like went down to Mexico when they were getting like kicked out of the American West. Um, and there's like a pretty good documentary series on it on HBO. But this is just like how most of these churches function, which is that they have like this doctrine of like the justified sinner, who is like the head of the church, this sort of like noble family in the church who accrues all the capital from these poor people, right? And then also just like is like sexually exploiting like everyone, and it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, that's like that's
literally
the
just like
prototype
rape
of like
farms.
all these. Yeah,
But like that's true in like Hollywood, you know what I'm saying? Like there's
right,
what isn't like that.
right, exactly. It's kind of everything. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like I don't know. I'm not I don't know. That's just what it is. So it's like it's self-evident to me that this is like the Antichrist. I just see it,
Mhm.
and so it's like I just describe it that way.
Yeah, it's kind of that's how I was saying. It's like it's hard for me. Like you described it very well, but it's intuitively like, yeah, this is just is the Antichrist. It's like literally what it seems like it's describing.
Yeah, well, it's like there's a passage I think in Acts also, which is, or maybe I don't know, one of the letters, which is like yea or nay, whatsoever more of this becometh of evil. So it's like ultimately at the end of the day, like you can get all of this done, yes or no. I'll be like, are the church is the Antichrist, yes or no?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, and it's like, and it's like, no, it's like, well, how are they for Christ? And it's like, well, they, attest to it. It's like, well, objectively, how? And it's like, oh, well, okay, yeah, maybe they make money. Okay, they accrue capital and they do NGO shit. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Also, I on your recommendation have been reading The Craft. I just started it. 'Cause
Yeah, that one's pretty good. I mean, the thing is, like, that's being written. That's like one that's like a defense of Freemasonry by like a guy who's effectively a Freemason. So it's like you should read it in like that light.
yeah,
But it's like more because like I think it's actually better to read a kind of triumphalist version of like someone who's defending the thing that they're writing
for
about
sure. Yeah, I
than like
definitely.
a lot of the conspiracy literature that's like, oh, this is all like making spurious connections just to show how evil the thing is. It's actually more interesting to like be like, where's like the true believer? I want to hear their interpretation of it.
Yeah, definitely interesting. So I was like, because I've always been like curious, because my mom was always like, this is like, because my mom's an evangelical, so that was like the one of her, bully men.
What's crazy about that is that actually that comes a lot from the Catholics, like the people who are anti-Masonic. Like you had like we had the anti-Masonic party that John Quincy Adams was like running way back in the day. But the later forms like Mason, like dude, it's like so normative for like basically civic service type people. You got like lawyers and bankers and police officers and firemen or whatever, and they're all in like I drive by like a lodge every single fucking day out here in New England. They're all over the fucking place out here. And want to know who composes it? It's like the selectmen and like the police officers and shit like that. It's literally like their meeting house for. It's like you remember in Twin Peaks? Do you ever watch Twin Peaks? And they have like the Owl Lodge where like the cops and like Dale Cooper, etc. That's basically what it is, right? And they consider themselves at war with like the bad lodges. All of them, every single one of them, have like the same kind of narrative where it's like we're like the good Freemasons and those are like the bad Freemasons. And the Catholics do it too because they have their Knights of Columbus and they got all their shit. They got their Knights of Malta. They got all of it. It's all the same. It's all like the same thing, but they create these spurious dialectics in the same way. There's like the earlier form of like we do it now with like race, gender, et cetera, et cetera. But back then it'd be like, you can't trust the Scottish Rite because we're like the free and accepted Masons. But then if you get really high up, you find out that it's all the same fucking organization.
Yeah, I think it actually self-describes in the beginning as is the elite of the elite. So any, the church, it's the same thing. It's the elite of the elite running it, and
It's just a creation of class
yeah,
consciousness. That's what it is. Like it's like a venue for the production of class consciousness, right? Like and it's like the class consciousness of the bourgeois. Like the Freemasons were, if they did anything good, they started a war against the ancien regime. But over time, they have become inextricably the same as the ancien regime. They kind of just have merged together, and that is why the British Empire like won. Like for so long is because they found a way to bring the bourgeois into like the aristocracy and not have them be at odds with each other anymore. Like English history is just like about compromises between the ancien regime and the uprising like bourgeois, like pretty much. But then as soon as you have like the Industrial Revolution, now you've got a new class of like proletarians, right? And it's like that is what is now. That's why you see like these former enemies, right? The Catholic Church and the Freemasons who are like at each other's throats. Well, it's like, okay, well, at the threat of communism, they're all on the same fucking team.
Yeah, that's definitely. Well, thanks for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to keep like learning more and stuff about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's endless. It's endless, but it's all, at the end of the day, it's also all very simple. You know what I mean? Like it's probably not good to be meeting up in these esoteric lodges with ranked hierarchies of like mysterium. Like it's just evil. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how you walk into something like that. And you're like, this is. It's like I had this feeling. I don't know. Maybe some people just don't have it. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I don't know. But I felt this way even about like fucking student council. You know what I'm saying? Like about the fucking National Honor Society, all of these little clubs. I'm not very club minded. I don't make it very long in clubs. I don't like them. I don't like the preservation of the mysteries of the club, etc. Like I don't know. I used to think that made me an individualist, but it's really that I just don't like that type of elitism. I mean, obviously I'm like an elitist in some sense because I have like taste. I'm like a snob, I guess, but I'm not an elitist because I often think that the people in the elite have the worst taste. Like they suck. Like they're the people who have the worst taste. One who has a good taste in music, random people that you talk to like at the bar. You know what I mean? Like that's where you can have a good conversation about like art.
Yeah, for sure.
Like here, like none of us are in the elite. I'm not in the elite. At best, I'm like petty bourgeois. Like straight up.
Yeah.
I'm in the petty bourgeois. I dedentify more with that class.
But I'm actually working with my hands, so I'm not doing anything right now. But
well, what do you do? Do you make things?
Well, I'm a DI water technician, so I make like ultra pure water things. So for manufacturing.
Oh, nice.
So it's pretty cool because I feel like I'm actually involved in like the process of making things, which so many. But then sometimes I take a company, I'm like, okay, what do you make? Like, what do you? Am I making? Are you making weapons? Okay, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's impossible. Like we're all. The other thing is that like there's only so much that this like I think someone called it on a tweet I saw, the sus milieu heuristic, which is like you're in a sus milieu because you can connect everyone to just the functioning of the empire, right? Like for instance, I'm in the sus milieu of working on Twitter, right? So it's like now I'm complicit with everything Elon Musk's doing, and Twitter is actually just a fucking DARPA program, probably at the end of the day. So it's like, okay, well now I'm just like a DARPA agent, right? We're all DARPA agents here, so we're all complicit. Like we're all volunteering too. Like we're all volunteering to be here. We're all volunteering to surveil each other and categorize each other. So that DARPA is a program that they're putting out right now where they can psychographically segment us for geopolitical purposes. Will be more efficient. Like we're giving them all that data, and we're not getting paid for it. It's rather sad, but we've all been duped into doing it, and you can't really change that.
Yeah,
It's like what Pinchon says. One of the proverbs for paranoids: you can't touch the master, but you can tickle his creatures, and we're all the creatures. But the master class is fundamentally untouchable from our positions right here. I mean, you can look, you can try. You can take out Epstein, they make him kill himself or whatever. But did we get the fucking royal family on that? Like everyone knows they were there. But they're still there,
Mm-hmm.
Took a whole fucking month of Queen Lizzie in a box fucking coverage last year. Like, we haven't changed anything. At the end of the day, they line up. They all, like, look at the fucking corpse and worship it.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much the media has just made it so people don't even, it gets covered up so quickly, too. Like, even with, like, the more and more Epstein stuff or whatever it is, like, it's just like, oh,
you also get bored of the fact that that's the case, too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's already to be like, this is going to get memory hold. It's like, yeah, I know. We all know.
Yeah.
Like, we all know. It's been the same fucking shit doesn't change. Like, it's how it's been going for, like, 100 years, if not longer.
Yeah. Yep. All right, well, I'm going to go then. Thanks, man. Good luck in your endeavors as a parent.
Peace, man. All right. Tristeppen, what's up?
Like,
What's
It's been
up?
nice reading your account. Hope you have a successful rest
You
of
can keep
your
reading me, man. It's all gonna be around.
internet
It's all gonna be
career.
around. It's all gonna. I'm not, like ultimately, like me writing things is not gonna stop. I can't stop writing. Like I have a fucking problem, I guess. But I don't know. It's just what I do. It's what I've always done. So I'm not gonna stop writing. Like my writing will be around. It's just not gonna be here. So you don't have to worry about like me like disappearing forever. It's really more like I'm disappearing from the sight of my enemies. Like obviously, like the paywall here is just a defensive protocol for my psyche at this point. I'm sick of being poked and prodded in the zoo of being. I'd rather have my own little suite that I can decide who comes in and not.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned The Golden Ass. I actually recently read that. It was pretty
What'd you
good.
think? Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Well, like Roman
So
satires
funny.
are like they're so like you can just translate everything. Like basically the conceit that we were working with was that like Twitch streamers, content producers are just they're the modern day gladiator class of the imperial Rome that we live in, right? Like so they have the same sort of like class interest, like the way like so like that it's about a gladiator fighter, right? Apuleius. So it could be about a Twitch streamer.
Actually, I'm pretty sure the adulterous woman in that book is supposed to be a Christian.
Yeah, I mean, this is yeah, I mean this is like if you want to talk about the church being corrupted by Romans, it's pretty happens pretty early on. So
Wow.
I mean,
But
it was like
I actually wanted to ask, what you mentioned earlier, like how you see like the churches today as like antichrist. I was gonna ask, like, what do you think a church has to do to be like a good church?
to serve the people, basically. Like, what is a good Christian? It's the
Hello?
same question. Can you
Oh,
hear me? They have to serve the people. They serve the people. If they don't serve the people, then they're doing a bad job. I just don't think they serve the people very well. Like, where are the Christians who are like trying to like end the fucking global empire? You know what I'm saying? Like, why, like, is the head of the church like not, like, why aren't they leading us in a crusade against Raytheon and Boeing and the Department of Defense? Where are the American Christian churches that are like, we're not going to support this anymore? Like we're not going to draft our sons to go die for banker wars. Like, where are those Christians? Where are the Christian churches saying shit like that? There are some, you know what I mean? There are like anti-imperial churches or like groups that would call themselves churches, etc. But that's not really what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like the churches here. Like the churches here are just like rah uh, state, not state in the good sense, but in like party, more like partisans. They're like, you can go to the Democrat church or the Republican church, and that's basically it. So it's like, what's the point if you don't vote? I don't vote. Christians shouldn't vote. We should all say fuck that. We're not voting. None of these candidates are worthy. I don't know
I
why aren't they doing that?
actually go to I do go to a church right now, but like they don't really talk about politics. They mostly talk about like theological issues, and like they talk about like personal like family life and stuff like that, which I'm not really into yet, but I'm pretty young. But I was actually interested because my current church is like going through this kind of like transitional phase where they're trying to like they're trying to like branch out a lot more and like expand the city and stuff like that. And I think it's like a pretty good church. The only thing is like I don't really agree with everything they believe. That's the one thing, because they're like it's like a Pentecostal church, so they're like an offshoot of like evangelicals. And there's
Yeah,
some like beliefs I have that are like align with like they use like grape juice for communion, and I prefer wine. It's like very superficial differences like that. But
yeah.
um I actually was wondering like how do I know if a church is like going to be not going to be like bad, because I don't they're not like partisan or anything, but like they are kind of
Well,
like
it's like
more
just look at the
mainstream, I
highest levels,
guess.
like who's governing. Like there's a church governance to this, right? So it's like who's the head of the church? Like who's your pope? Basically, is the question.
Yeah. Who's your
That's
pope?
ultimately the
You know,
question, right? Like who's your pope? because like honestly, the churches that I like kind of respect the most are like these kind of like primitive Baptist churches that just like exist because like the same families have been going there forever, and they just like are there. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like it's a part of the way of life, but it's not like accruing enough capital for it to be like, oh, we're gonna build a new fucking cathedral, and like, you know what I mean? Like it's like it's much more like humble.
Yeah, I was actually thinking like reading the Acts of the Apostles. There's actually like they do like communal living, and they like all
Yeah,
give up their property and like all live under the same like place, and like
yeah. The church was supposed to be
and
a
like
government.
they all give up their wealth to like for the church, like and just like live together. I think, right?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, that's why like America,
Yeah,
like
like I was
New England
wondering if
is
that would
founded
ever
the
be
way it is.
possible. I know it's kind of like it would be very hard to do in the modern day,
Well, like that's what
but
communism is answering, right? Where it's like we don't actually have to like all physically live in the same place, but it's like if we have like the term Commonwealth, right? Like this conception comes from the government of Israel, right? Where it's like there is no like it's governed ultimately by God, like by the commons, by the collective good, the singular collective good.
hmm. I actually I'm actually thinking about like getting like almost like a higher spot in this church, and I don't want to become like a bad guy.
Well, I mean,
They
you're going to
say power
struggle then. You know what
corrupts.
I'm saying? Well, it's not. It's not power that corrupts. It's that you have more ability to to express your own corruption, right? It's not like you didn't like. You know what I mean? If you're gonna sell out or whatever, and like all you really care about is making money at the end of the day, maybe you don't think that of yourself, but maybe that is true of yourself, and you only realize that when you're in a position to do so, and then you choose to do so. But that doesn't mean that before you had that position, you weren't corrupt. You know what I'm saying? I was actually having this conversation with my father-in-law also, which is about that term like power corrupts, because he says that he's like, I don't know about that because I'm like a communist obviously, and I'm always proselytizing my opinions on things. So um, he's like, well, I don't know, I feel like power corrupts, and I was like, I think it's the opposite. I think people like corrupt people use power, right? But uncorrupt people, like good people, also use power for good reasons. Like you can't affect the good without power. Like you can't, like, you know what I mean? Like as a father, right? Like when I keep my daughter from putting her hand on the stove, like I'm exerting power, right? I'm like, you know, taking away their bodily autonomy for a moment, right? Out of a benevolent like thing, right? Like I don't think that but then there's also, there's people who like they become parents and feel
Yo,
like they
my
become
thing is
better
like
people.
breaking up really badly, so I'm gonna get off. But
All right.
um, thanks for having me on. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
It's all good, dude. I hope everyone else can hear me. I don't know if my shit's fucked or if it's just yours, but I've been talking, so I don't know. I'll let Costco on. We'll see. What was I saying? I don't know. I don't think power corrupts. I think that people are corrupt and that when they have power, they're able to express that. But I think that if um, you kind of have to you have to face those things before you would have to face them in reality. So it's like you have to really, if you want to like, get that sort of power and you're like, well, I don't think I'm corrupt. Like, I think I'm in this for good reasons. Well, it's like, how do you know that? It's like, what are you willing to deal with, like to suffer for in order to like uphold that? Because it's a lot easier to just, look out for your own self interest than it is to try to maintain fidelity to some sort of principle. So it's like, yeah, it's like same thing. It's like if you wanted to run for local office, you'd be like, well, am I just going to like sell out to like to like the established interests here, like just so I can get reelected? It's like, well, maybe you will. you know, Ultimately, it's up to you. Costco, you can speak. I don't know if your mic's working or whatever, but I'll give you a sec. All right, Frank.
Yo, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
All right, yeah, I've been waiting for this for like 4 days or 5 days. I installed this cancerous app and just, oh,
Yeah, I had to reinstall it today to do this. I'm gonna uninstall it when I'm done.
yeah, it's been, sorry, my little brother is crying in the backseat. I'm sorry. Anyways, yeah,
Oh,
This app, I think, like, I used to have the idea that TikTok is like the worst social media, like going into this. But 5 days on Twitter has literally changed my mind completely. I think Twitter might be the worst.
TikTok's way better.
Yeah, I think.
No,
Yeah,
think about this. Think about why the State Department doesn't want you to be using TikTok. Just think about that. You know what I'm
yeah, it's
saying?
that
Like, what
simple.
other
Yeah, and
app
then
have they
like
come out this hard against?
and then also seeing that like DARPA shit or whatever that you posted, like, yeah, like it all makes sense. Like Twitter's just meant to like radicalize people and just like make these like echo chamber battles and like all this BS. But yeah.
It's literally a laboratory for the production of conscious. Like, it's the media laboratory. Like, we all know, like, Twitter, things trickle down from here, right?
Yeah.
Like, things trickle down in the media ecosystem from here. It's because this is the fucking DARPA testing chamber for the narrative.
Yeah.
You know, this is like,
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, there's always like the jokes on like Reddit or like Facebook that everything comes from Twitter, and like, I think that proves it. But anyways, here, okay. So first, I have just some general questions. What's your like favorite era of architecture, or like what's your I guess takes or opinions on architecture in general?
I don't know. I like buildings, what I like, you know, I kind of like Gothic stuff,
Yeah,
I
Gothic's
guess.
cool.
I'm just from like the Northeast, so I like brick buildings. I like the I don't know. I like my house. I don't know. I like what I see generally. I have a differing opinions on things. The real thing I don't like is just the kind of like neoliberal
Yeah,
aesthetic of condominiums and like
100.
mixed glass
Yeah,
use and just like flatness. Like, I'd much rather live in a brutalist fucking concrete cube than
yeah.
that. You know,
What do you
straight
think
up.
of Baroque? Do you like Baroque?
It's all right. I don't know. I'm not like a big architecture guy, frankly. Like, I'm not that. It's not really my a
Okay.
huge interest of mine. If I were to tell you like my favorite style, it's probably like Carpenter's Gothic, like from up here. Like when people went really hard on the woodwork to make sort of
Yeah, it's
those like Victorian or Baroque even like structures, but they were doing it out of the hardwood from around here. There's a lot of those out here in New England, just out and about, and in like Pennsylvania and stuff. And I know those, like, I know a guy, one of my dad's friends. He like refurbished the whole house and did all the woodwork and shit himself. And it's just like a beautiful work of art, you know. And that's like what I like that. But I don't know. What's my favorite skyscraper? I don't fucking care, you know.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm basically the same way. All right. So what I wanted to ask you about is what you were talking about on, I don't know, some podcast, something. If you search Logo de Dallas on YouTube and
Yeah,
there's some video you were
I've
talking
done
about.
too many of those. Yeah.
Yeah, but you were saying that you were talking about like how there needs to be a need for like physical space. Like I think you might know what I'm talking about now, like church or just something that's like you
Third
basically were
space,
saying.
like places people can hang out in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like for example, so I go to college in like Iowa or Iowa City, and what some like old wise man was telling like my friend, like what happened before is like there used to be some place where like it was like a chess place where people would just like hang out and like smoke and play chess, and like it's gone. Like literally Iowa City, if you look into it, it's like the most neoliberal like dog shit town. Like there's literally no like spaces like that besides like bars and shit and like college football games. But besides that, like
Yeah.
there used to be like cool
It used
shit
to be the
there.
library.
Yeah, yeah. But
It used
anyway,
to be that.
yeah. So, what do you think of So, I'm just curious. First off, what are your like? Do you have any ideas for like ways to revive this besides like just a church? Like, or what spaces do you think like could we build or make? You know, businesses or just whatever.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I
Do
have
you
no idea.
do you know anything about like salons from like I don't know like romantic era?
Yeah, I just think that, you know, actually the best writers in those are the people who hated the salons, you know, and they would write satires about all of the meaningless conversation that happened in salons. And
Oh,
we're in a
really?
salon right now.
So you're against salon?
I'm not against it. I'm just saying, like, I don't think that like this notion of like, oh, we're gonna have like this cultured space for like the elite. It's like, well, that's the college
Uh,
campus, you know, like we do have these spaces. It's just for particular class interests. And it's like you want to go to the Guildhall, you can go to the Guildhall, right, in the City of London Corporation. Like, you know, if you get citizenship in the City of London Corporation, you can go. That's a great third space. You know, the rich people have these all over the place. They got their country clubs, etc. You know, so it's like that's what you're really talking about. Like salons, they still exist. They still
it's
exist. You
just
could
in
be
a
a
different
member of like
form.
the
Yeah.
Algonquin Club in like Boston for the old Blue Bloods. There's a million of these clubs. I've been in the Harvard Club. You know, my wife is like an alum, so it's like I've been in the Harvard Club in Manhattan. You know, I've been into these things. They do exist. It's just that they don't exist in a type of Republican or like forum where it's like we can all go there. Where that does
Yeah,
exist, where you got that in the library still, the public library, which is why it's like the den
yeah.
of like librarians are fucking evil in this country. I don't know if you know that, but
No,
the
I don't.
librarians are fucking well. It's like why do we have drag queen story hour things? It's because
Oh yeah.
librarians en
Wow.
masse have been making these happen. Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Actually, the thing that you said about public library actually, it relates to my experience. Once, like, I was just in Chicago and I like went to the public library there, and I just heard these two random people talking, and they were like talking about, I don't remember exactly. I could barely like hear them, but they were saying some. It was definitely a great conversation, and I was like really surprised. Like, I don't know. I'm from the
Well,
suburbs, so I'm not that.
I spent a lot of time just walking around cities with like nothing and like no money. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, I was pretty broke when I was in my early 20s and stuff. And like even like when I went to Austin for like the CPI conference or whatever the fuck, there was like a whole day where I just like didn't have anything to do, so I was just like walking around my luggage, and I just like looked homeless. So I was just like in the public library hanging out because it had like free Wi-Fi with like homeless people. And it's like that's what our spaces are. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. So yeah, well, I guess what I wanted to talk to you about is like, could there be some revival of Salon or just whatever? But you basically answered my question.
Well, it's a Discord server, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
Doesn't everyone have a salon now?
like, but it's not physical. I think like the thing with no, the thing with Discord that's just like so annoying is like because there's this layer of like anonymity. I don't know how to speak. Okay, I know. Yeah, so just because there's like this layer, you could basically like be friends with someone like on Discord, but like the next day you could completely just block them, dox them, or just do whatever you want. But in real life, you can't do some shit like that. So like, I think that's why
Well, that's what
Discord.
the Banshee of Anderson is about. Is like, well, you could do that in real life. You could be like, ah, now we're not friends anymore. I find you annoying. I don't want to hang out ever again. You can do
Yeah,
that in real
yeah,
life.
yeah, but that doesn't
You ever heard
happen
of
as
the term
much.
blackballed? You ever heard of the term blackballed? It comes from the American like these societies. Like where does the term society come from? It comes from these salons or societies that people would create, and then you'd have membership in society, and like you would spend your time in societies, i.e., in these various societies that you were a member of. But if you got voted out, you got the black ball, okay? Because they would had an anonymous vote where you put in white balls or black balls, right? For whether or not this person should stay
Wow,
or whatever. You got to vote or to bring people in. So if you got blackballed, that's when
I
you
never
were
knew that.
not in. Yeah,
Yeah, I never knew that's the origin of that. Okay,
yeah.
just I guess two more like questions. So I remember when you were debating Destiny or whatever, you said like that he can't reason dialectically, and yeah, I agree with it 100%. So like,
Yeah, he's
like
an analytic.
yeah, so like, but like the thing is, he's not even really an analytic. I don't even think he reads. Like he's not rigorous. He's like
No,
more.
well, he reads
To me, he's more of
Wikipedia.
like a postmodernist or something like that. But I don't know.
He's
Like
pretty much taken up like the standard defense. Like his arguments are things that he's gotten from other places, right? That he just replicates, right? He's just a node that's replicating the academic consensus. Because when he's like, "Oh, I want to be serious about this issue," what he means is he's going to
gonna go on
replicate
study.
the academic consensus. He's going to
Yeah,
replicate the academic consensus. So
yeah,
what is he? He's like a Rawlsian liberal, okay?
yeah. No,
Which
yeah.
is
So like,
what you learn to be if you go to Harvard, right? If you're a Harvard TA and the
yeah,
philosophy department, you're teaching Rawls, okay? So it's
yeah,
like he has just
that. But
replicated
self-taught.
the consensus. But it's not self-taught because no, it's just that consensus wasn't produced from his own engagement with primary sources and like the history of literature and fucking philosophy. It's derived from him reading Wikipedia's summations of
Yeah, yeah,
positions and being
exactly.
like, this one seems authoritative for today. It
Yeah.
seems like it, you know what I mean?
So like, is there any way? Like, how do you engage? Or is there even like a way to engage or convince these people? Or
No,
like if
no, there isn't. It's nothing but lost time. Literally, don't bother. Don't even waste your fucking time. William Blake says discourse with analytics is nothing but lost time. And I learn this all the time when I foolishly try to engage in dialectics with analytics. It's literally just a waste of time. It's an exercise in your own patience. That's it.
all right, that's good. That's good to know. I guess. Like, I guess I'll save some energy. It's just like, it's so. It's I don't know. It makes me sad almost, or it's just like,
Yeah, it is depressing.
cause,
Definitely.
cause like they will call you schizo, or like they will call you like all this shit if like But it's like, if
Yeah,
you
but they're
really wanted
defended.
to
They're
adopt
defended by the entire regime. Do you understand? Like the reason why he's getting those positions is because he's defended by the entirety of the machine. Do you see
No,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
but
So
the
it's like,
issue is too, like, normal people who are like just like 18, 16, 17, they just listen to that shit and they just parrot his same beliefs, and like they don't like it.
yeah,
I think it's like, I mean, like, sure, Destiny himself, like, yeah, whatever, he's retarded, but how, like, the I guess trickle down effect from people like him, I think, is like, that's what makes me so sad, because like those people will call you schizo, but like they just don't understand, I guess, like they don't read, or like
they
they don't
haven't been
try.
mugged. So I don't want to like take a quip from like neocons or whatever, but they've said, there's like a conservative is a liberal who's been mugged by reality. But I would say really it's like engaging in dialectics is what happens when an analytic is mugged by reality, right? At a certain point, their analytics no longer suffice to explain things. They're going to run into some sort of contradiction, and then they're going to have to like decide where their loyalties are. And if their loyalties are with the machine, right? Like Destiny is a patriotic guy, right? He loves NATO, right? He's constantly defending NATO. So he made his decision.
All right, yeah, well,
If you want to just defend the status quo, you can get rewarded for that.
no,
You can
yeah,
influence
like,
the whole next generation of 16-year-olds, and the
yeah, that's what I
algorithm
was
will
gonna
promote
say.
you.
Like if you wanted to adopt similar beliefs to death, it'd be so effortless and it's so easy. It's like, I feel like it's so intellectually dishonest. Like to
Yeah,
think like
it is.
Destiny parrot studies, it's like, I feel like anyone could do it.
Yeah,
It's not
it's
like,
not hard.
yeah, but okay. So here's my question: why do these people get such like big audiences, and people think like these people are like the smart people? That's what I just don't get. Like
Because they're
or like people are
they're
really
presented as such in the algorithm.
or one thing too. It's like people who say, like, if somebody's consistent, that's like what people like view as like smart. If like they say A equals A and like they're just consistent on all like of their arguments, then like they're smart. But like I feel like it's
Yeah,
much more. What?
yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is what people consider like intelligence, is just having a singular point of view.
Yeah, but I feel like that's not the truth. But
Well,
like
yeah,
it just,
good luck convincing them.
so it's just wasted effort to try. Well, but what about in
Mostly, yeah.
Eastern countries though? Like in Russia and China, I feel like most people think more like us.
They don't
Like
have a whole
people,
tradition. Their whole systems are completely different. Their whole worldviews are completely
yeah,
different. Their authorities are completely different than our authorities. You know what I mean? Like people here, like they're like, well, I'm citing like Locke and Rousseau. It's like that doesn't really matter as much in other places. Like we have a
yeah,
specific like worldview that's produced by these institutions, and it's a different one in other places. Obviously, that we're at literal war with. You see what I'm saying? Like those
yeah.
worldviews are literally at war.
Oh yeah, that clears up a lot of things. All right, okay, so one last thing. I think you should check out a book called The Art of Piano by Heinrich Neuhaus. You've been playing guitar, so you could probably apply some things from guitar, or you could apply some things to it from guitar. Basically, he was a teacher in Moscow Conservatory. If you know any like Russian pianists, like Sviatoslav Richter,
Yeah.
Emil Wells, he was their teacher. And he basically applies dialectical materialism to piano, and he like
Oh,
basically
that's
writes about
cool.
it.
I might give that
Yeah,
to my wife then, because she's
yeah,
really into piano.
yeah. Art of Piano by Heinrich Neuhaus. You should definitely check it out. And
That's cool.
yeah, I think like what my goal is like I'm trying to create. Well, I don't have time for philosophy as much as I would like to, sadly. But my goal
It's
is to
mostly a
kind of,
waste of time too, so don't worry about it.
yeah, but yeah, my long term goal is to kind of just unravel that more and apply it more to like maybe Western education or just something. Trying to teach, because I have one piano student. I started playing during COVID, and I kind of teach like I teach them dialectics through piano, and it's actually very fulfilling, and it's a very fun thing. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
mean
think,
that's like the good way of teaching. Like teaching in its best form is Socratic or dialectical, right?
yeah, yeah,
Where you're not just like prescribing you're not saying like repeat after me. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah, 100%, yeah. Well, all right, that's it. Thank you for the talk. Now I'm about to
Yeah.
fucking delete this dog shit app, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Enjoy your liberty, my friend. God
all right.
bless.
Have a nice day. See ya.
All right, snow day. Eternal snow day. That's what I want, man. It needs to snow here. I hate New England winter when it's not snow. There's no snow. It's literally just drab and depressing and damp. Damp, 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 as Melville puts it. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm in the Sun Belt actually, so sitting outside.
Oh,
It's
beautiful. I might be joining you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd recommend it. I've never really been to the Northeast except visiting New York once, but yeah, it's a whole different vibe out there. Like growing up in the West,
Where are you? Arizona?
New Mexico.
New Mexico's haunted as fuck, dude. I don't know. New Mexico kind of scares me, but I like Arizona.
It's very true. Well, like I don't like Arizona. I enjoy the haunted vibes here. I enjoy the kind of mythology of like
Everyone's haunted
the
too.
atomic bomb and you know, the weird, the all the money here is government research defense, but then it's
Yeah.
built on like this
Yeah,
old
dude.
world.
Dude, you drive around out there, you see like Northrop Grumman billboards. You know what I'm saying? It's like wild. Like I saw those out in the Big West. Like it's all like straight up billboards being like work for DARP, like work for the Department of
Yeah,
Defense, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's crazy.
But well, I guess like one thing I wanted to say is that like you were talking about how, you know, you're not sure like what the value of your impact has been on this app or whatever, but I think, and I think, you know, like you've had an immense pedagogical impact over the last
Yeah, I mean,
decade.
I know that I have had that, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm naive, but like I wanted to like make real change happen, but I don't think I can do that. So I don't know. I console myself with that, and it does feel nice for people to tell me that what I've done hasn't been for naught. You know what I mean?
Well,
So I
like
do appreciate that.
the way I was thinking about it was you like the last decade, I guess, or the last, you know, since 2015 has been a time of pipelines and everyone like going down these pipelines, and it's literal infrastructure in a sense, and there's definitely a logo pipeline that has been
Yeah,
effective,
that's true.
and so and I've experienced that, and like, and that's something real, but I do think like the time for it has come to an end. Like I really feel the
Yeah, that's how I feel.
2010s is ending this year, and but you were talking about
Yeah.
like TikTok and how TikTok is so much better, and I only just recently started using it, but like, can you say more about that? Like, what's different about TikTok?
Well, TikTok is just like it's less posing. There's less
Yeah,
it's more like early YouTube type thing where it's like somewhat it's like very low production value again, which I think is good. Like I'd rather watch like, you know, I fucking love TikTok, honestly. Like I love going on TikTok because I like get videos of like, you know, like Chinese dudes smoking cigarettes at like a
yeah,
metal foundry or whatever, and like like I'm like this rocks. You know what I mean? Like or I'll get or I get a lot of things from like just like information that's like actually useful to me. You know, like I like this one account that's like a public defender or whatever, and he just like talks about like the corruption and like the courts and stuff
yeah,
like that. Just like sitting in his car. Like stuff like that is way more meaningful to me than reading people's fucking overly honed like takes for the narrative machine here. TikTok feels more like folk art to me. And I
yes,
might honestly transfer some of my production over there. Like I'll probably be writing more long form pieces, but I think that like some of the things where I just have like, you know, just some small thing I would want to say like in a thread that I could like literally speak in like a minute, I might start doing on TikTok because I think that you know, there's book talk and I would love to fuck up that, I guess. If I'm just looking to, you know, make more pipelines to my content or whatever, that would be my obvious step.
yeah.
Like
I think
Twitter
you
is
should.
exhausted. Like it's a solved game at this point.
Yeah, it's like it's saturated, it's overdeveloped. The rents are too high.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you should do that. Like book talk is, you know, shit show. Like, someone has to do something about it.
Yeah, like
Um,
I would like to do just like little TikToks being like, "Hey, did you know that Melville like shook hands with Abraham Lincoln? You know, to have a picture of the fucking letter he wrote to his wife, and you know, blah blah blah." Like I could do like more pedagogical stuff, just like, you know I have a lot of like little um, pieces of knowledge or whatever that I think are that like requires like a kind of more like you have to be reading primary sources and putting things together to like juxtapose and like appreciate the sort of thing that I'm doing. But I can just do that for people there. You know what I mean? Whereas like here, I'm always like, go read books, but it's like on TikTok, like I could act, like map out some like, you know, people are always asking me to give them a syllabus and shit like that. I could do that on TikTok. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, like there's no homework on TikTok, and
Yeah.
it's like writing in sand. Like you said, it's like a folk dynamic, and everything's like ephemeral to an extreme point to where, like, and this is what I was wondering about is like it seems to be more evasive of the surveillance
Well, it
infrastructure.
literally is. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why if you work for the state, you are not allowed to have TikTok on your phone, on a government phone, because we don't have access to surveilling it, and the Chinese do. And so they're like, oh, terrible, terrifying. It's like every other app is like a fucking CIA honeypot, but the one that is like produced by China, that's the dangerous one, right? You know, it's hilarious how.
That's
And
yeah.
like I hear this all the fucking time from boomers, man. Like, it's so, the narrative, like consciousness building and like mainstream media is so fucking effective to this day. I don't care what anyone fucking says. Like 60 Minutes is still extremely effective propaganda to this day. You know what I'm saying? Like when the local news will have a little thing where all the local news broadcasters will read the same paragraph at the same goddamn time. But like for whatever reason, all these boomers are now like, oh, TikTok, the Chinese are turning your kids into socialists or whatever. It's like, what the fuck? Where are you even getting this from? It's like, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. And Twitter's just kind of like the lower vanguard of that for like I think the youngest cohorts of Zoomers and stuff are tuning out of anything
Twitter's a
but
millennial
TikTok.
platform.
Yeah, it's a millennial platform, and it's still tied to the ecosystem of podcasts and stuff. Like I said, homework. Like everything's referring you to these other pipelines that are going to be managed upward.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I was curious about. I don't know like the politics of TikTok and all that. I thought it sort of got like the American app got co-opted.
It's still in the process. It's still in the process, like legally.
Okay.
That stuff's still like ongoing. If you want to follow the case or whatever, but that's why I straight up like that's why TikTok is being treated like it's uniquely bad amongst apps. Like, it's funny because all of the shit they used to say about Twitter, they now just say about TikTok. Like, oh, it's ruining people's attention spans, or whatever. And it's like, fuck you. This is so transparent to me. Like, you're saying the same shit about Twitter back when Twitter mattered more than it does now.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about was like you posted randomly those videos by Fulcrum. That guy.
I love Fulcrum, dude. I watch those to feel some sense of hope in America. Honestly, he makes me happy when I watch him interacting with the world. It's literally just makes me smile.
Yeah,
I love him.
And that's what it gave me like a kind of intuition about what could be positive in this decade. With
we
like
need to seize Yodi land, man. Like, Yodi land has to become our own common inheritance. That's the fucking theme of Fulcrum, which is, what is Yodi land? Yodi land is all these, like, we're talking about third spaces, etc. That's like a Chipotle and a fucking strip mall, off the highway. That's Yodi land. That's always where his videos take place.
Yeah,
it's
Walmart.
Some kind of like, yeah, it's like Walmart or like a Target or whatever. And he just like acts as if it's a place that is his own. Like, he acts as if he's just like hanging out in his room, he's like fucking blowing dabs, smoking the Target or whatever. And then people are like, oh, you can't do that. And he was like, oh, sorry. I didn't know. Like, I love his pretended naivety about it all. Where he's like, oh, I just thought this was a free country, Oh, sorry. Like, he's like such a nice guy to like the security guards, etc. He never wants to cause problems. But like his like him just acting as if like he lives in the kingdom of God. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He just acts as if it's already here. And that's what his whole shtick is. And it's beautiful because then like now you see his videos and it's like people will just like he just like shows up somewhere and then there's like a crowd of people following him. It's like Christ-like in a weird way.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, which is what made me like, that gave me a kind of harrowing vision of like what, as he gets more popular, like he's gone viral in the last few months or whatever, and like where does that lead?
I don't know. I don't really like. I feel that way when I look at Mr. Beast. When I look at Mr. Beast, I'm like, this is the Antichrist. But Fulcrum gives me completely different vibes. I don't think he could be. He does. It doesn't seem like he's like a schemer in that way.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it is Christ-like in a sense, writing in sand, just going out there, and it's like true poetry. You make a place, elevate a place just by sheer imagination, and it works. Yeah. Oh, thank you also for turning me on to The Chosen.
You see, I've just started feeling like I don't know. The latest season has taken the definite dip in quality. I'm kind of disappointed with it. I haven't even watched the latest episode, so the first two
Okay.
seasons are really good, but I don't really know. I think the guy who's running it is kind of I don't know. He's kind of sus. I don't know what's wrong with
The
him
Mormon,
because
right?
there's explicitly a part where like Jesus is in Nazareth in like the third season, and he's like the forgiveness is of debts. It's not about economic debts, and I was like, oh God, I know, no, oh no, oh
Yeah.
no, you know.
But like the first two seasons did, I mean, has there been another like popular adaptation of the Gospels that has that much? You feel like the presence of Rome, which I think is like underrated in the public imagination, like the how important it is that it's in this context of Rome, uh, establishing this kind of screen, or like I guess you could say enchantment. I guess there's like this friction against like uh, the old traditions, the old gods, and then it's just Rome. Like everyone knows that Rome owns all this space, and uh, and everyone kind of implicitly uh, uh, like bows to Rome uh, more than their own traditions, and
Yeah,
that milieu is kind of what makes the Christ figure possible.
yeah, yeah. Like it does a good job of like situating it that way, but I think it's more like the guy writing it is like from he I think I don't know he seems more interested in marketing the show at this point. Like if you watch Sunday Night Football, or at least for a while, they were like chosen ads like all the time, so it's like the marketing budget must have been pretty fucking high. And I think at a certain point it's kind of become a little bit of like he just wants to like make the be like I don't know like a celebrity in a way, you know what I mean? Whereas I felt like the first two seasons when it had like less traction and it was like more um difficult to make, and it seemed like it was like this kind of thing that wouldn't succeed, were more interesting. And I don't know, I gotta catch back up on it because I missed like two episodes or so. But I don't know, it disappointed me. I like audibly sighed at a couple points. It's got a little more I don't know. There's like some types of writing in it that are kind of hacky at this point. The first two seasons are really good though, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
It is inspiring to me that he just like has been able to make this by like, you know, getting funds from people. It's pretty
yeah.
amazing. But
I know a local guy here, like an entrepreneur, and he has a charity foundation or whatever with that has like international investments in these like missionary efforts and stuff. And his foundation invested like a few $1 million in the show. Um, and and when I heard about that, I was like, oh yeah, this isn't just like crowdfunded from
yeah, no, like
$100 at a time.
the other thing is like now there's like a whole NGO around it and shit. And like I don't know, it's like the more you build up that type of infrastructure, the more I don't know, it just gets sus. Just gets sus. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you see like it's like people make fun of this notion all the time, like like oh man, I loved this band and then they sold out and now they suck or whatever. And it's like, but that is like a real thing. Like it does happen. Like there is a degree to which um, art made by that's like kind of I don't know, not getting that kind of patronage, like art made outside of the patronage system has like a type of purity to it that you just can't because it's uncompromising because you don't have to make compromises if you're not like you're not servicing the capital of a patron. You're just doing autonomous production. Like I'm a big fan of autonomous production, and I feel like it's become less autonomous. It's more I don't know. That's really where I think it's starting to get weaker.
Yeah. Well, um, I'll get off and let other people talk, but
Yeah.
thanks for giving a decade of your life to this fucking app.
God,
And
don't tell them that to me. Feels awful, but thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up, and I appreciate that you guys appreciate what I've done. I'm not going to disappear. I'm not killing myself or something, but I just have to stop being involved in the fucking discourse, man. It's a poison. It's a
for
poison.
sure, yeah, real shit. Well,
Peace,
here's the
man.
next
God
years.
bless.
Yeah. God bless.
All right, boys. Got anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone? Costco. Give you a shot again.
Hello.
I can hear you. What's
Whoa,
up?
it worked. God damn.
It worked.
Third time's the charm. All right, yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for leaving Twitter so I can fucking delete the app. I'm actually going to go buy a dumb phone
Yeah,
today.
honestly, I feel like I'm doing a public service because I feel like a lot of people have been using it just for me, and I'm just like, you shouldn't do that. Like, we should all get out of
Dude,
here.
when you took a
Like,
took a break for a little bit, I was like, man, this app sucks. What the fuck am I doing here? So,
I feel that way when I'm not posting
yeah.
either. I don't see anything I want to read.
Honestly, the only good that came out of it, the reason I wanted to call is like, I'm sure there's a bunch of people listening to this that feel kind of the same way, but sometimes I feel like a fucking crazy person out here. I live in Portland, Oregon. I play like music up here, so I'm with a lot of like leftist people, right? They do their thing.
Yeah.
I'm fine with them. They're friends of mine. They're all good-hearted people, if not, lost and whatever. But I was just like reading your tweets, reading like what Haas does on infrared, because I'm also a big like pro-China guy. I read a lot of stuff on that. And it's like,
Yeah.
thank God there's just at least like a couple fucking people out there that don't make me feel like all my thoughts are fucking insane. Because that's what it feels like most of the time talking to these people.
I know what you mean. Like, I mean, honestly, that's like been the solace for me is that like I felt the same way, right? And it's like, am I the only one who fucking sees this, And I had to, but like, I see that like, it's good that there's more, like we built this pipeline, or whatever. And it's like we can all agree that we see what we see, like we see the same thing or whatever. And like from people like all over from all different fucking places and walks of life. I think I have a pretty diverse like audience, honestly. So I mean, I'm glad that I've done that. It was good for me too. It gave me some solace, myself. But I'm like, I feel okay with it now. Like I understand that there are people who see it. You see it, I see it. We're talking right now.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's gonna be a bummer to have you post less, just because I'm just trying to figure out more and more ways to like talk to the people around me without having to just have like a kind of a lame conversation. You've probably done this. I don't know. You probably speak your mind better than I do. But sometimes I'm just like, yeah, you don't really want to talk about anything interesting. You just want to talk about TV shows or something like that. Like, let's just do that. I'll meet you at your level. Do whatever you want to. But it's just hard. I'm trying to find more people to like.
You gotta be more Socratic.
Yeah.
You gotta be more Socratic. You gotta just you gotta pick other people's minds. Honestly, though, I can't. This isn't good advice at all because this is a good way for everyone to start hating you.
I'm fine with that.
Honestly,
most of the time, man. I'm fine with stirring the pot. I got a fiance.
All you have to
She
do is
loves me.
ask
That's
people
all that
basic
matters.
questions.
Yeah.
People come up to me all the time and they'll like make a statement or something. They'll be like, "Oh God, these people are so terrible." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" You just ask questions. They just exhaust them, and then they get mad. But that's what happens.
Yeah, I mostly just ask people now, why aren't there any funny movies anymore? What happened to that? There used to be funny movies.
Oh no, there's been some good funny movies, man. Triangle of Sadness is funny as hell.
I wanted to see that.
That one's really funny.
Missed it. Is it still? Fuck it, whatever. Anyway, I don't know. Just like, what do you see happening with people that are? This is one thing that I think about because I read a shit ton of stuff about China. I'm trying to learn Chinese and all that fun stuff, but like I am very concerned, especially out here in Portland. Anytime I mention anything positive about China, most people immediately treat me as like a Nazi, like a straight up saying I love Hitler, and I have to constantly deflect that. But like,
listen, you would be better off saying that you were a Nazi. That would be more socially acceptable. Seriously, that's more so. Like you could, you could be like at this. You could be like, it's like a Walter in the Big Lebowski. It's like say what you will about National Socialism, dude. That's like what it's like for real. You'd be surprised, man. Like that like it's kind of funny how much more open people are to that sort of shit than to being like, yeah, I think China's not bad. Like, I think China's doing some good stuff, and people are like, what?
Yeah, you
What?
can't say anything positive about it. Everybody's just so geared. They're all just so locked and ready to go with like yelling about China. Like people that don't even care about politics, they already got like 4 or 5 talking points lined up. It seems like really stressful. They seem like stressed out,
Kind of
trying to defend the empire or
interesting is
whatever.
that's actually the biggest influence Trump had. The biggest influence Trump had was anti-China rhetoric becoming normative,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Everyone does that now. Joe Biden won, and he ran on saying that he was more anti-China. Like because we had to pretend that like we had like bilateral relations or whatever, like
Yeah.
like confluent convergence of interests or whatever. Like that was like the China story up in like the Obama admin even. But as soon as Xi Jinping gets in, different story. It's really
Yeah.
Xi, whatever.
Yeah, but
It's really
you know.
him. He changed everything. He's like the fucking world spirit. I like think about I respect Chairman Xi.
Oh hell yeah, dude! I've read his book as much as I could understand of it all, and I think the big thing is like I always tell people, I'm like, dude, Xi is, say what you will about the guy, but like he is the most important person alive today, right? Like that's the argument I try to have with people all the time. But
Yeah,
like right now, he's the one, like you said, the world spirit. He's the one that makes the world turn. Uh, we should at
yeah.
least be interested in him. That's the part that I find so weird. They're so angry. And no one's interested. No one knows shit about China.
Well, the other thing is there's this kind of like anti like East Asian racism, particularly anti-Chinese
Yeah.
racism, is the most socially acceptable thing. Well, it's not Asian Americans, of course. You shouldn't say anything bad about Asian Americans because Asian Americans are victims of communism. So they're brave, stalwart defenders of the Sheng Yun, whatever the fuck, China before communism ballet that they're put
That's
around all goddamn time,
fucking all over the
funded by
place,
Falun
man.
Gong. Yeah,
Try
yeah.
telling anybody
So
about
it's like,
Falun
so it's
Gong,
like,
you sound crazy.
also, by the way, this is the story of like Shang-Chi in like
Yeah. Oh
Marvel,
fuck yeah.
etc. It's the notion that Asian Americans are more authentically Asian than the Asians in Asia. So it's like Chinese citizens aren't really Chinese; they're just communists. Real China is Chinatown in LA. That's where the real China is.
It's fucking crazy, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like that's what I believe. I try to talk to other people about it. It makes me feel like a fucking crazy person, and it's like I don't know. I don't get why people
Yeah,
have no
well, man's
curiosity.
insanity is heaven sent, my
Oh.
friend, as Pip says.
Dude, that's the other thing, man. You try to tell, I'm getting married. I got a fiance, and I think about this all the time. I'm also like trying to read the Bible, but I'm not a good reader like everybody that you talk to seems to be. I just work my way through it, and I always think like,
I think you're doing
thanks,
fine.
man. And I always think about my friends. Like, if I told my friends, like, me and my fiance are opening up to a polycule where we're just gonna invite people to fuck us or whatever,
Yeah,
that's more socially acceptable than being like, yeah, I read the Bible. I think it's cool.
dude.
Like, I'm reading it now. I think it's
That's
cool.
valid AF. That's valid AF, man. That's valid.
It's weird, man. I just like I don't get it. I don't get. I don't know. It's like there's just a lot of stuff people don't seem to think about. I'm just trying to figure out like where the fuck do you go to meet people? How do you meet people to talk about any of this shit without having to like kind of hold their hand into it? Like where are the curious people? Are they?
Honestly, I don't know. Used bookstores sometimes, but honestly, what scares me is that like a lot of the bookstores, it's like they still have masking policies and stuff. I don't know what's wrong with people who run these bookstores. They're supposed to be like good people, but they're like the librarians here. It's like my own people, my own kind have like turned against like all that is good and holy. That's what's most depressing, I think, in America is that you have all the people who are like ostensibly interested in literature and poetry and like the expression of like the human spirit, etc. But they're like, yuck, the Bible is a Bronze Age backwards book by fucking racist bigots or whatever the fuck. It's like, oh my god, how did you become like this? What happened? You're supposed to respect books. That's what depresses me. I don't know where you find those people, man. I found them here. I guess he lost his connection, but you find them. I don't know, man. God provides for the raven. You just gotta have faith that when you run into people that they might have more wisdom than you would think. Oh, he's back. What's up? You just gotta, I don't know, man. where do you find friends? That's like, where do we make friends today?
Sorry about that.
I don't know, because I don't have that many.
My phone keeps shutting
I would
off.
have more friends if I played video games. I don't know. It's what's sad to me is like I have like so I like moved back like to New England. I'm in closer proximity to a lot of my friends, but it's like I always try to like organize us to hang out in like reality, and it's always like, oh yeah, we're busy. I'm busy. Well, this person's busy, and if you can only get like one, it's like, oh, you're not busy, and it's like, yeah, but we're not just gonna hang out me and you, and it's like, okay, but just get on Discord, dude. Get on our Discord.
Oh
Like
man,
everyone's getting. I'm like, I don't want to be on Discord. I don't want to be on Discord. I want to hang out. I want to sit in a room and just drink beers and shoot the shit. Like that's all I want. I don't want to play video games.
dude, that's why I'm in a
But it's hard
band,
to
man.
fucking do anything.
It's the only thing that gets
Yeah, I
people
mean,
away
I
from
feel
the
like that's
screen.
there you go.
But
There you go.
yeah, dude. Sorry, my phone just keeps shutting off on me. I'm getting a new one now. But
Okay.
yeah, the other thing I wanted to say, just like this is something I figured I should tell you before you sign off. When I started listening to you, I was working in commercial real estate, doing like real estate brokering stuff. And I just agree with everything you said. I read a lot of Michael Hudson, realized like I don't want to do this anymore. I coach a JV girls basketball team, feeling a lot better. I wanted to thank you for that. It's been a nice change, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
You
not
shouldn't do what you hate.
absolutely, man. It's good words. It's good advice. Shit.
It's really basic.
It is,
This
but it's
advice is
hard, man. There's a lot of fucking people out here got a
lie
lot of
and
opinions.
don't do what you hate.
Yeah.
Don't lie and don't do what you hate. Don't do things you hate doing and don't lie.
Well, what if
That's it.
I have a lot of fun lying though? Sometimes it's really fun to lie to people. You ever do that?
Oh yeah, it's fun to do bad things.
It
Yeah,
is,
it's fun
yeah.
to do bad things, as the little Grand Theft Auto kid would say. But it's also bad to do bad things.
Tomato, tomato.
And actually, as William Blake says, of all things, too much fun is the worst.
I agree with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So just wanted to say thank you. Good luck with whatever you're doing. I guess say hi to the wife and kid for us.
I will, man. Well, thanks, man. Keep on keeping on, man. And I don't know. We're all in this together, but I'm just me. I don't know what to do either. Like I feel like there was a type of openness to potential change, which is now closed behind us. I sort of feel like that Hunter Thompson thing about the wave cresting or whatever. It's like I feel like the wave crested, and it already crashed, and now we're in a new world.
I kind of agree with you. Maybe it's just the winter too, but it just feels like all the momentum's gone right now, and it's like we gotta just prep for the next wave.
We're just on lockdown, dude. Like I swear to God, lockdowns are gonna come back like big time.
Oh,
like we're
I've
gonna
already
have
seen the
COVID
rumors.
too, etc.
They're gonna blame China again. They're gonna be like
Yep.
China let out this new variant. It's like, oh, obviously.
Yep.
Obviously, that's what's gonna happen.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we have to do that so we can lock everyone down and bail out our fucking tanking economy again. And I don't know how much we're gonna do this. Turn off the system, turn it back on shenanigans. But who knows? Who knows how long we can keep doing that?
Shit, man. I don't know. Hopefully not another lockdown. I can't think about that right now, but we'll see what happens.
Everything it's I don't know. It seems probable, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Anything I read that's anti-China, I just assume is gonna happen because it's like they won't let any of this stuff go right now. They're just gonna ride it all out,
Yeah. Like even Russia is just about China. Like even Ukraine
100%.
is just about China. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
All right, man.
Michael Hudson. See you later.
Yeah, read Michael Hudson. Really, that's about it, right? He says it all better than I can. Anyway, I can't wait for his new book. He's got a new book coming out this year, which is his like masterpiece, like the one he's been working on his whole life, which is economic history of like the collapse of like antiquity, etc. So.
Oh shit! Yeah, I read "Forgive Us Our Debts."
Yeah,
it's
going to be like a bigger version of that.
Fuck yeah, I'm into it. But yeah, I mean, that's the big thing is like I don't have to read anybody else. That's it. It's just all on Michael Hudson right now. No one else is caught up. No one's gonna.
If you want to go back another step, I would say you read Veblen. If you want to go back a step, like where did Hudson get it? Because like Hudson's like grad thesis and stuff is on like Veblen. So it's like Thorstein Veblen. I got really into last year. I read a ton of Veblen because of Hudson, and that has been like the missing piece.
Oh shit. What's his deal, real quick?
Well, it's like, have you ever heard of a Veblen good? Like, it's a term like where the more expensive it is, the more of a demand it has.
Okay.
Like these goods that exist solely as he also created the term conspicuous consumption, things like that. Like he's a very important economist. But so like for instance, an NFT or a Bitcoin is a Veblen good. Bitcoin is literally the definition of a Veblen good, where there's more demand for it, the more it costs, because it literally just exists as a store of abstract, like fictitious capital. Like it's not even a real thing. You know what I mean? A Veblen good is like when I'm like, this is limited edition, one only. It's $1 million. It's like when the Wu-Tang sold their record like that. Like that's like a Veblen good. You know?
Fuck yeah! All right, I'm into it. I'm just gonna, I don't know, see if
Yeah,
I
he's
find
really
one of
good.
his
He's
books
really
at
funny
Goodwill.
too. The best
Nice.
economists are really funny because it's a dismal science, as it's called, the dismal science. So I think a real good economist is like a satirist.
I agree. So far, any economist that takes themselves seriously doesn't seem like they have a whole lot to say. It seems like. But
We don't really
we'll
have
see.
economists here. We have marketers. We have PR
Yeah.
gurus for corporations, basically. Corporations and banks.
It's fucking nuts,
That's
man.
it.
I did like psychology in college. I just thought I thought econ was like a real thing. I only started studying it because I was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on in China. Yeah, exactly. It's like you read all the stuff everyone's doing here. You read what they're doing over in China. You're like, that seems like it actually pertains to like the real world. Everything over here is like a fake fantasy island thing. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Why are people listening to these people?
Man.
Why are more people listening to Deng Xiaoping?
Played this
Like, that
all out
was
so long ago on the Robinson Crusoe cybernetics episode. I feel like that's like one of the best things I've contributed to, because like that's really where it all comes from. Like once you start seeing Robinson Crusoe everywhere, like you see it everywhere.
fucking nuts, man. It's a crazy world. All right, I'll let you get going, man. Thank you very much for doing the space. Thanks for all the shit. Enjoy Western Mass, man.
All right, peace, man. Peace. God bless. All right, Matt. I'm gonna do these last two, Matt and Caleb, and then I'm gonna be outie. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Matt. How are you?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
It's good to talk to you. Happy and sad that you're going.
It'll be for the best. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, for sure. Have you thought about doing some book video essays or anything like that?
I think about it. Yeah. My problem is that it's like I don't want to actually make those. You know what I mean? Like I would rather like I don't know. Have you done video editing and stuff? I don't know. I have. It's like painstaking and it's like not fun for me anyway. But maybe if I feel called to, I'll make a video essay of something at some point. What I would like to do is like I don't know. I want to write a novel, man. I'm more interested in like writing poetry and novels than like essays to me are kind of like make work, or like, you know, these kind of like explanatory things kind of feels more like make work, where it's like really you could do it yourself, right? Like that's what I think is more appealing to me about poetry and like literature, is that it's more like inspirational in the sense where it's like not laying things out to you, but it's like a creative process between like the reader and like the writer, where it's like, how did I end up learning about all this stuff that I could make video essays about? It's because I was inspired to learn about these things from reading like, you know, people like Pynchon and stuff like that. You know, and it's like I'd rather like do more of that work, where because I don't think that putting the pieces together in a linear form just so it's easily digestible is as pedagogically effective in the long term as creating like a zone that creates the inspiration to do that, if that makes sense. Oh, I can't hear you, man. It's like really quiet.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I was saying like, oh yeah. And like that whole game, like putting on YouTube, it's like running with the algorithm, putting goofy out like thumbnails on it and everything like that to try to like sneak in
it's
something
like
about
do you know the guy like
Kojev.
Cuck Philosophy or whatever?
No.
That guy, he's like a big YouTube essayist, and it's like he put out a book now called like Philosophizing with a Hammer and Sickle, Marx and Nietzsche. And it's like this is really what the algorithm would select for. Like that's what people want. I don't know if my content would even stay up. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've thought about that, like the trade-offs of like getting a big audience, like sacrificing to then sneak in the real stuff. But like I sometimes wonder, like on the way to doing that, do you really just sacrifice the part of you that can actually tell the real thing? You know what I mean? Like Tarkovsky used to talk about that a lot. Like if you try to go for the sellout position to get a larger audience and then talk about the real thing, you'll lose that part of you. that can
Well,
actually like
it's really like the
be
question of
poetic.
patronage, where it's like where you end up, where's your bread buttered, at the end of the day? That's the real question. So it's like if you become reliant upon YouTube or whatever, right? Like being relevant to the algorithm, then you're gonna mold it. Look like someone like Ethan from H3H3, for instance, right? So it's
Yeah.
like he started out just stealing Sam Hyde's shtick and interviewing like Jordan Peterson, having him like vape and stuff like that. But the algorithm has just done whatever it wants to him, right? At this point, now he's like taking those down. He's like, I disavow this, like trans rights, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's like you can see how the algorithm itself like warps people's consciousnesses to these different ends. So I don't know. I don't want to,
Yeah, I
I
know.
also
And
don't want
it's
to
like,
end up on
are
fucking
they being
cozy or
manipulative or are
whatever the
they
fuck.
being manipulated at the same time? It's probably like
It's both.
It's both.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you've seen it like a million times on Twitter. Like I've at least I've met like a handful of really good people on here, and even like chances to meet people to connect them with like film jobs. That's great. But seeing like the psychosis that happens with people on here, like it doesn't matter the ideology. It really gets
Yeah.
like formed by the medium, and just like it brings out the most
Yeah.
abrasive parts of people
Exactly. So it's
and
like
paranoia.
for instance, I'm trying to like I really just want to build a wall between me and like the mass like psyche machine here, the
Yeah.
antichrist machine here. And so if I start making video essays, all I'm doing is like opening a wider gate. Like so that means then I have to deal with like all of these other people are going to be reacting to the video essay, and then I'm going to have to give a fuck about what they have to say about it, and I have to like fucking engage in the discourse again, and that's what I don't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. I
So
could see like just throwing up like I mean like I like edit, so it'd be fun to do. So I'm biased. Like to do like an Adam like your version of an Adam Curtis thing on Kojev,
yeah,
because
that
nobody
would be more
talks about that.
interesting. Yeah,
It
on
would be fun
Kozev
to
or something
make.
would be good. Yeah, I mean,
And like
we should be in contact then because I would collab with you on stuff like that. Like I like the thing is like I struggle with finding collaborators. Like mostly, like I found a few good collaborators over time. Like for instance, like Stilico is like my
yeah.
favorite collaborator
Oh,
because
he's
like
great.
we're just on the same wavelength and like we can just fucking go, you know. But it's like that's been like the most depressing thing for me on like internet societies. Like even in the frog Twitter days, etc. We're like, okay, well, like let's like put together something real. Like let's make a bigger project with like more ambition or whatever. And it just always falls fucking apart, into like people as individual brands or whatever. You could see this with like infrared too, right? Where it's like this
Yeah.
kind of more collective thing. But then you had like people like who are like riding that up, and then they're like trying to distinguish themselves in the brand space from being like as an ex person who was in here, like I know that it's all fake. I saw like it's all crypto fascism or whatever. And it's like I'm sick of like managing communities. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
want
It's
to.
like it doesn't
Yeah,
no matter what the medium of like the pressure of like like differentiating yourself will like push it so it's just it has those like weird awful dynamics and like added paranoia. It kind of ruins so many projects you try to do. But at the same time it's like where else do you go, really? This is still the easiest place to meet people. It's just the problem is like
yeah,
99% of them are crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, I'd be totally be down.
yeah. Like that's like I would rather like I don't know. I want to just be making more things instead of discussing things. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'd
no,
rather like
exactly.
yeah,
And like it's like the in between is like making something beautiful that discusses it. So
yeah,
there's people who are hungry for this. You know what I mean? I found you originally years ago, just like looking up, key searching Kojev.
yeah.
You know?
It's a very limited. We're a very small society of Kjev readers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like there's still like a hunger. Like I remember, like I found about him just because like I had one teacher in like my weird bizarre school who gave me
Dude, I
Close the
had
American
Boris
Line
Groys.
by
That's
like
really
Alan Bloom.
that's it.
Yeah. And like just like even just giving that book to like other my friends and like opening up that like I don't know like they had there is an inert like I don't know like hunger for this type of thing. There is. It
Definitely,
just
definitely.
most people get scared off. You can tell by like the view counter, even if that's fake. There's a huge bunch, like a huge percentage of like people are looking for something interesting, but are scared off by all like the insane theatrics. This seems just like getting involved, so easy to get involved
Yeah.
in weird messes.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. But I don't know. But then it comes down to it's like what it really is like how you market this then, right? So it's like why does people care about Adam Curtis, right? Because he's
Yeah.
good at marketing himself, you know what I mean? Like where he's marketed himself as this like, this guy with oh wow, really deep stuff. And it's like, yeah, he did good stuff, it's fine, but it's like not really sufficient to me, you know what I mean? Like I'm
No.
disappointed in Adam Curtis videos when I watch them. I don't but like you would get much more capital in the sense of being like, oh well, like me and Adam Curtis, like yeah, like oh well if I want to make something like that then I should get the Adam Curtis cosign so I should like please him and his audience or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like the incentive structure of it is all like effectively to make you produce Chapo Trap House like at the end of the day is
I
like
know.
that like the market has found the most effective form of this like controlled opposition and it's like
And then
it works better
17 other
now.
niche markets of like opposition to Chapo. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, exactly.
And on and
Yeah.
on and on.
And on and on. It goes like that, they did the same thing with what the on the right. It was like you got like BAP, that whole sphere. Like, I lost a lot by like not being a part of that anymore. You know what I mean? Like I had people who claimed to be my friends for years completely change their tune on me. Like, people felt like betrayed or whatever, and it's like that's what it comes down. It comes down to like these kind of weird, like feudalistic, like corporative identities based around follower fandoms. Fandoms. Like, what else is it? It's all fucking fandoms.
Yeah. And you see it in like group chats of those dynamics. It's bananas. And it's
Yeah, it's
like
just like,
you guys aren't getting paid by this guy. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, but
bizarre.
like,
It's like it's more openly like how like the dynamics are nakedly like that when you see it in like say in a group chat more so than even
yeah.
like on some jobs. It's
Well,
bizarre.
people are desperate for meaning, and it's like I
Yeah.
can give you meaning here. They're welcome to the RPG progression system of my fandom. You know what I mean? It's like here's your meaning in life now.
Yeah. And like mix that with like also like the constant like incentivized like fights that happen all the time and then people get starved for dopamine and then like
Yeah.
it goes on and on. Like I don't know. Like do you think like it really does like fuck with people eventually? Like after a
The
few years?
internet?
Yeah.
No, it
Like
fucks
like
with
like
people
like
from the
being a
beginning. Like
content creator.
first second on, like you're getting fucked with. Like it never
Yeah.
ends. It just accelerates. It builds on itself. But you're never at any point like, oh yeah, I'm like free and immune from this medium or whatever. I'm just naively on here. It's like, no, it's like already affecting you. It's
Yeah.
affecting you even if you never went online because everyone else around you, like the whole society is online, right? So it's like you can't like just that's like the stoical dream, right? Where you can just like find this zone of being unmoved by anything, right?
Yeah.
But it's like you are moved by everything all the time. So it's like everything's fucking with you all the time in that way. There's no escape. Like I'm not truly escaping Twitter in the sense that like I'm just avoiding it for myself. There's still gonna be people fucking talking about me on here if I'm not on here and like screen capping and like talking shit about who knows who fucking knows whatever they do now. I see like I'll randomly see like I don't know how, but like it won't even be in my mentions, but it'll be like a 50 to 70 retweeted like screenshot of one of my tweets from like weeks ago or whatever, and it's like I don't even know what's going on. You know what I mean? I don't even know. I don't even
I mean,
know.
at least like you're hated by the most annoying groups I can
That's
like
true, but
imagine.
that actually sucks because you don't like wouldn't it like wouldn't it be great to be hated by like the kindest, nicest people in the world? Like, and they'd be so kind and nice about it. Whereas if you're hated by the most annoying people in the world, like, doesn't that suck even worse?
Yeah, I mean it's in your face, and it's really annoying that like extreme foreskin gamer like is like not giving you inherently bad faith reading of something, or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other
yeah.
side. But like well, like it's like that's the trade off. Like the cool, kind people are like just silently want to talk to you. They don't want to make like a
They don't want to make a
use you as
fuss.
yeah
Yeah,
you know
no, actually, what I found is like silence is good. Like, what, like my true fans are like complete, like some of the people I appreciate the most, I guess, are like completely silent auditor. Like they may not even have a Twitter account, or people have been telling me here, like I only have a Twitter account to follow you, and it's like they don't want to add to the discourse or whatever. They're just like, yeah, like I just appreciate. Like if you write a good song or whatever, it's not like I'm calling up Bob Dylan being like, "Yo, changing the guards, dude, fucking changed my life. That song fucking rock." Like he wouldn't give a shit either way. You know what I mean? He made the song and like it's out there,
and it does stuff for people, and you don't need to know every single time it does anything. You don't need to read your own reviews. Like, it's pointless.
Yeah, it's cool enough to know that like you can turn some people on to some great stuff.
Yeah, that's
That's
all I've ever
big enough,
wanted to do. So I
like
feel I've done good, but I want to do
yeah,
better. So
like just from you, I think Robert Bolano was huge. Like you got me into reading 266. That's amazing.
oh yeah,
Like
hell yeah.
yeah, and like I still have like Michael Hudson books. I haven't got to it yet, but it's in the pile for sure.
No, it's like straight up is like I wanted to go into like why like I could have been a professor, but I would have had less impact than this. Honestly,
Yeah, exactly. And you think the
it's
internet's
wild.
fucked up, but you know how bad
Like the other things are just as
the
bad
tenure
too.
system is.
Oh, it's
Like
even worse.
academia. You already know how that bad is too. That's the hard thing, particularly. Is like where else is there to go at this point? Like
Yeah,
there are no institutions left.
no, there aren't. And it's like there's the other thing is like I'm gonna write this book. I'm probably gonna self-publish it again because it's like what I guess I could get like a literary, but like I don't want to do like you know what I mean. I don't fucking want to do all that shit. I don't want to have to talk to like a marketing department about like what they think the font on the cover. Like it's so fucking bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, like the plus side of like, you do like if you're going for like a podcast to get like a big audience and you do the game of like getting guests. There's like weird
Yeah,
relationship
it's
with
so
that.
fucking annoying. Yeah, I hate doing that shit too. I've got like the
Right.
only guests that I've had that are good, I didn't even get is like my boy V fucking cold emailed like people and then like just set it up for me. Like I've been blessed in that way that I haven't had to like curry favor with
All right.
people really.
I'll try to do that with you with Chris Ott and maybe like
That'd be
David
sick.
Bentley
I would
Hart.
love to talk to Chris Ott. That'd be cool,
Yeah.
but I don't even know what we talk about. I just want to like have a beer with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like I
exactly.
have to turn that into a podcast so that I have an excuse to do it.
He's underrated with doing like video
He's
essays.
great. I
Yeah,
love
he does
him.
like those Spalding Gray like monologues. He's perfect at that.
He's really good. But
I don't
you know
know.
where he makes his actual money? He's like in marketing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so that was his whole point. Like nobody in the indie scene is like they're all doing like tech work on the side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like it's like some of my favorite like Game Theory the band. Like that
Yeah.
guy was like a coder, like early coder in like Silicon Valley, and like all of his music was like very monetarily unsuccessful. He's like writing songs about like Finnegan's Wake and stuff, in like a jangle pop format. And it's like that's always the shit that I care about the most. And it's like I also know that it's like the least salable shit for the market.
I know. I remember like years ago I wanted to go to like a Sacred Harp convention and film it, and I went there to like just make like some cool thing, and like I got permission, and then going there and then like just experiencing it, I'm like I don't want to film this. I don't want to
Yeah,
turn this into like a small commodity thing.
yeah.
Like some things feel too special. By the way, there's another one coming in March. If you're looking for
Another convention
yeah,
around here.
yep, Northampton.
I might go.
You
Oh, if
should.
it's in North, I'll probably be there.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
sick.
think it's in March. Like a friend just told me, and like I would love to go to one of those again. It's like it's been too
That'd be
long.
cool. Yeah, we should keep in contact because I feel like you're like one of the. I recognize your stuff, like I recognize your Avi, etc. You've always been a beneficial uh, contributor.
Yeah, for sure. And like it's so much. It would be like a nice break from like editing like Dunkin' Donut spots. you know, like
Yeah, yeah.
putting the best music
Hey,
onto
at
like
least you're making
Goja.
Dunkin'. You're doing it for the real working class. The
Yeah, exactly.
Dunkin' Donuts employees are actually proletarians, in my opinion. But
Yeah, for sure. Except for
that's who.
when
Did
it's
you
like
know?
spots like people,
Wait, did you
when
tell me
they're
this? I feel like you told me this that Bob Dylan devoted like his book, like the philosophy of modern song, to all the Dunkin' Donuts employees.
no, I don't think so. I mean, that's totally a fact to be into.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Oh, well, and but that was this is interesting. I just DM'd you this. Is that like we found a guy? You're probably mutuals with him. He's like translating a new thing of what like Kozhev's address um to Nixon, all about Nixon.
Oh, holy shit! I need
Yeah,
that. That's sick.
and
I just
I'm
saw
telling that.
someone translated his letter to his uncle to Kandinsky recently, and I was like, that rocks.
Yeah, and like, all right, so do me a favor and just like encourage this guy to also. I asked him this to like translate anything from Gaston Fassard. Like ever since reading about him from Stanley Rosen's letters. Like, I need to, like, I have a feeling something really interesting is there. But like,
I'm sure it is.
Nobody has
Yeah.
like translated anything. Like, he's unknown in the English world.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's like so it goes, man. You know, it's like that's always what happens. Is like you're like that's why you end up having to like learn a language, just because like
I know.
it's like the same thing with like really good like Alexander Bloch stuff or like Belly and stuff like that. A lot of it is just like Silver Age Russian literature is very under translated, or the stuff that has been translated is like all out of print and stuff. Like when I was collecting Merezhkovsky novels, I was like, this is so fucking hard to find.
I know. So there was an incentive during the Cold War to do stuff that wasn't like Solzhenitsyn. You know.
Yeah.
Some
For
Bulgakov.
sure.
I mean, Bulgakov was great, but
I love
obviously,
Bulgakov.
yeah.
All right, man.
I know.
Well, thanks for chatting. I'm gonna talk to this one last guy. God bless, man. Peace.
Yeah, you too, man.
See you around.
Take care.
All right, Caleb. You've been very patient. I will reward you your patience. What can I do for you, pal?
Yo,
What's up?
first time, long time. I know you just kind of talked against this, but I did want to say, first off, thank you for introducing me to poetry, like in a serious way. I don't think I would
Yeah.
be a poetry reader
Well,
were it not for your
that's
shit.
one of the things I care about the most. So thanks for thanking me for that, because that's what I really care
Fuck
about.
yeah. No, it's been huge. It's been, I don't know, I had this huge moment realizing just in terms of a way of like, not to use too technical a language, but just encoding reality and experience. Like poetry is just so much more rigorous, and it also has this, I think you spoke to this, of like people, it's like hater proof, only people that would really get it would bother to spend time with something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like you can't. It's not like people who have no interest in understanding it will just like literally. It's like it looks. It's like something in a sci-fi movie where it's like this page is blank,
right.
and it's like, well, it's covered in poetry, and they're like, it just looks blank to me.
Right,
Like,
no, that's really lived with me, and yeah, I mean within a matter of months kind of changed my perspective on a lot of stuff. So that's, I just wanted to say that before you dip. And also, two more loose thoughts. You're talking about, you mentioned Chinatown, Los Angeles, and like the contrivance of like Asian American identity. And I don't know, do you know the lore about how I live in LA, and like our current Chinatown is like the third one we've built, and it was built out of like
yeah,
film sets and stuff. It's
yeah,
just like I
yeah,
love that. I
yeah.
just love the
It's like almost heavy-handed. I got like frisson, like spinal frisson when it's like so the Chinatown in LA is made out of old film sets. It's like yeah, it's so true.
yeah.
You know,
No, it's like themed.
like it's beautiful in this warped way that it's like so like everything just means what it is already. You know, it's already there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think maybe that's the lead into my third point. I guess just I mean, LA's a great example, but America as a whole has this problem of just everything representing the joke of itself. And like, how how do you be a person of service in this world? I don't know about other people, but I really struggle. I think a big gap in my source of meaning is like I'm not really useful to anybody. I'm not like, I'm like a classic NEET
Yeah.
of the soul. And like, how do you become of use in like a landscape like this where everything is already
Well,
self-engineered? Yeah, I don't know.
personally, I've only really felt that like being of use, like I don't know, like for instance, you would tell me that I've been of use. Like other people here might tell me that I've been of use, but and like that's nice and stuff. But where I really feel it is like just like my wife and like I have a kid,
Right.
That's like how I feel. Like I like there's like whenever I've had a job, like I'm a good worker. Like not gonna lie, like I've always been very well liked at like any job I've had. I work very hard at any job. Like even if it's like a fucking sandwich shop, I want everything to be going well and stuff. And I always like go out of my way to like help people out, like my coworkers and stuff. Even to the point of it like breaking my heart. Like when I was like a bartender in Dallas, I had this one friend who was like working there and he was like struggling, like he was like fucking heroin junkie basically, but he was recovering. He'd been shot in the chest with a shotgun, like, and he showed it to me, like it was like
Oh
mangled
my
and like
God.
so fucked. Like he had been literally like a drug dealer had shot him in the chest with a fucking shotgun, right? And it's like he just like loved playing guitar, and he was pretty good at guitar. And he was like afraid of like playing for anyone, and I would like convince him to do it, and he like started doing it, and he was like, "I'm gonna go like busk around tonight." He's like, "But I don't think anyone's gonna want to like listen to me." And I was like, "You know what? I was like, when I get off my shift, I'll spend the rest of the night just like hanging out with you while you play guitar. Even if no one else comes, you can at least play for me." I would like really go out of my way to like try to be of service to people. But he fucking just broke my heart so much, you know, because it's like a week later, it's like I'm like the shift manager or whatever at the time. And it's like he's supposed to be doing stuff and he's fucking nodding out in the bathroom, smoking heroin out of like a fucking aluminum foil. You know what I mean? And it's just like I felt so betrayed, you know? Like I don't know, it's hard. Like it's heartbreaking to try to be of service here
Right. Right.
constantly.
Yeah. I mean, that's real. I've found that, you know, when I'm in a good relationship, that is definitely the primary source. And then my friends, I'm lucky enough, I have really good friends, but, you know, I'm sure like with most people, my friends live in different cities nowadays. And like, yeah, I don't know, like, where do you even start? What community is meaningful? And it involves so much compromise, like you were just talking about, like with work, like, you know, you don't really, I don't even give a shit about my job, but I similarly work hard, but it doesn't give the full package, you know, of like human meaning. And I trying to
Yeah.
piecemeal it together from all these different sources. It gets kind of tough, you know, it always is about compromise, but yeah.
I just think like just like trying to be helpful. I don't know, dude. Like it's like I'm not a fucking, you know, I'm not going to pretend to be Confucius or something. And it's like art like in those times things were kind of simpler. It was like what how can you be of help? It's like everyone needs fucking help on their farms, man.
Right.
Like go do some work.
Right.
You know, but it's not really like that here because it's not it's like you know, I don't know, shovel your neighbor's driveway, stuff like that. I don't know. It's like it's really small stuff, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of
It means so much more to people than like you would guess. You know what I mean? Like every small little thing, because it's like such a depraved country where everyone's trying to or is out for each other and stuff. That like any kind of act of superfluous kindness is like I found very much appreciated by people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that lives in my head. I have a whole set of things people have done for me that are like bewilderingly kind, um, and
Yeah,
small too at the same time. But yeah, no, I guess that's all we can really do. I mean, that
I
does, you
know,
know,
right? We're just waiting, man. We're waiting.
yeah,
It's not on us, man.
yeah,
We're just here to bear witness. We know what's happening. We know where it's going, and we're just trying to do what we can
straight up.
in the meantime.
Well, whatever that means for you, man, I super appreciate all your work here in this fucked up place, and I can't wait for what's next. You know, for real. I gotta go. I gotta go
Me
run to
too, man. I'm
AutoZone, but
pretty.
yeah, best of love to you.
All right, man. Well, God bless, man.
Thanks, boss.
Well, God bless all of you guys. Do my little ditty I've been working on. Good night, everyone.